Hello. So now the book that I'm gonna read is the second part. That is Mrs. Funnybones' Return, and this is book by Twinkle Khanna. And this is the part two. And the part one I've read it earlier, which I've not recorded. So I'm gonna record this one, the Mrs. Funnybones Returns, the part two, and it's written by Twinkle Khanna, and the genre is primarily classified under non-fiction, humor, and essay observations. And it's basically a compilation of ETSs, blog-style columns, columns, and short personal anecdotes or funny fables. The book offers a humorous take on the life of a modern Indian women, covering topics like in-laws, modern relationships, work-life balances, family life, and societal stereotypes. Tone, it's witty, conversational, sarcastic, and deprecating. And I'll be very honest, right? Till now, I've not read a lot of humorous, book. I've mostly read about the history, geopolitics, and self-help books. But I think my first book about the humor and the satire is this book, the first part, Mrs. Funnybones, and this is going to be the second part. I actually liked it very much. The first book, it was available freely on online, online, and second one I had to buy it from the Amazon Kindle, so Kindle editions, and I paid 256 something. So yeah, so I'm just gonna read it because the fee is not available. So just wait, okay? I'll show you Mrs. Funnybones, right? So the first part name is Mrs. Funnybones. She's just like you and a lot like me, and it was released in 2015, non-fiction. And Mrs. Funnybones Return, right? The second part is Mrs. Funnybones Returns, and is published in 2026 after close to 10 years. And the funny part about Twinkle Khanna is that she is the wife of the Shah Rukh Khan. No, not Shah Rukh Khan. I'm sorry, Akshay Kumar. And to be honest, in Bollywood, I don't like a lot of actors. I mean, it's not like I don't like them, but I don't hate them also. But because I don't I don't like the kind of a movie they make. But there are some few exceptions, and apparently I happen to like some work of Akshay Kumar, his work ethics, and his I think one of the best movie that I've watched about his movie is Kesari, both 1 and 2. Absolutely, beautiful picture. And it's mostly like I wouldn't say a documentary, but it's based on true events. And no, I don't like other his other movies, which are funny. But yeah, it's not like it's done badly, but I don't like humor movie and comedy movie. So Twinkle Khanna, let's give some credit to the author, and her name is Twinkle Khanna and is an Indian actress and author. Obviously, she's married, but I think there must be an agreement that she has not taken the surname of his husband Akshay Kumar, and I think she was. She was a daughter of Dimple Kapadia and Rajesh Khanna. She made her acting debut with the leading role in film Sarsat. I'm not exactly sure about all of these things. She was born in 52. And what I like about her is that not just, I think she has done her, just wait, okay, Twinkle Khanna, she did her PhD or something recently. So University of London. She, at what age? Just wait, okay. Twinkle Khanna, author and former actress, holds a Master of Arts in Fiction Writing from Goldsmiths University of London, graduating in 2024 at age 50. That's fascinating, right? Okay, so, and she studied at NM Narsi Monji College of Commerce and Economics. She later pursued higher education, fulfill her passions. Okay, so yeah, that's what I like. Graduation at 50. Just imagine. Okay, my mom is not 50. So Mrs. Funnybone returns. Fantastic, fashionable, and woke. Okay, funny by woke. The sequel to Mrs. Funnybones. Mrs. Funnybones returns. She's older and wider. Okay. Does that mean she is not taking care of her health? Because as far as his husband is concerned, it's very much very much a fitness enthusiast. She is older and wider, but is she wiser? That's a big question mark. Mrs. Funnybones returns. Okay, she is older and wider, but is she wiser? Twinkle Khanna. So Mrs. Funnybone returns. Mrs. Funnybone, okay, Twinkle Khanna. Okay, so Juggernaut. Mrs. Funnybone returns. Okay, so near New Delhi. Okay, the view. Obviously, you need to give the disclaimer. The views and opinion explained in this books are author's own. The facts contained here were reported to be true as on the date of publications by author to the publishers of the book, and the publishers are not in any way liable for their accuracy and veracity. All right reserved. Okay, no part. Okay, so yeah, we have a contents. Okay, not on authors. Okay, not on the author. Okay, so Kindle library. Okay, just wait. Okay, I'm just learning about how to use the Kindle properly. Okay. There's a search button. Okay, because I'm planning to either buy or the Kindle, or is it fine to just read Kindle in laptop? Because you can make a note also in the one. Okay, so yeah, let's just read it, right? So the first first where the fuck? Okay, so the first one is content. Okay, for God's sake, can you find my phone? Okay, it seems that she lost her phone. I'm recording this entire reading because I like reading out loud, and at the same time, when I read, I just not read it, right? I just give my opinion also in a satirical and I like it, right? So that's why I'm recording it. So the first part is, for God's sake, can you find my phone? Okay, seems that she's the kind of a person, okay, forgets things easily. Where is phone? Okay, 7 a.m. The phone rings and an unknown voice says, "Hello, who you speaking?" I immediately reply, "I'm Beena Thomas, nurse at Holy Family Hospital," and the phone is promptly disconnected. No, I haven't developed a multiple personality disorder. This is simply to dissuade random people who spend the amount of a time, excavating my phone number as the police spend digging up skeletons in pen. From calling me to say, "Sister, what's your sweet name?" Twinkle Na, 8:15 a.m. Instead of getting ready for our trek, I call my sister to complain. It's so hot that even my ovaries are popping out boiled eggs. I don't know why we have to go on these sweaty expeditions. My sister replies, "If your ovaries are popping out scrambled, fried, boiled, and actually any sort of an eggs at all, at this age, then it's a miracle. Stop being lazy and get on with it." Knowing she is right, I grudgingly put on my sneakers. Just wait, I want to see when does the exact. Okay, so when is the age of menopause? I think, if I'm not wrong, it's around like late 40 or early 50s, right? Yeah, menopause typically occurs between age is 45 and 55. Okay, between 45 to 55, with the average age being around, average age is 45, 41 to 42 in Western countries. In India, the average age is earlier, approximately 46 to 47. It is officially diagnosed after 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period following the perimenopause to transition the average to the global. This one's okay. Just wait, okay. Can a female, just wait, okay. Yeah, can a menopausal woman get pregnant? You cannot get pregnant naturally once you have officially reached menopause, defined as 12 consecutive months without a period, as you have already stopped releasing eggs. However, you can get pregnant during perimenopause, the transitional years leading up to menopause, even after the irregular periods, as ovulation still okay. Contraceptive needed because doctor advises using contraceptive for 12 months after urinary natural period to prevent unexpected pregnancy. Okay, post-menopause because to natural pregnancy is not possible. Menopause and pregnancy, okay. Can you get pregnant after menopause? Natural pregnancy is not possible after menopause as ovulation ceases and hormone level, estrogens, and this one remains permanent low. However, pregnancy is possible using in vitro fertilizations with donors' eggs or previously frozen eggs combined with the hormone therapy to prepare the uterus. Okay, so IVF, in vitro fertilization is possible. So around 45 to, okay, so there's no defined age. For God's sake, can you find my phone? 10:30 a.m. We bundle up the children, load the car with an ice box filled with the sandwiches and other goodies, and head off for our much-awaited picnic in the wilderness. All the phones are on silent according to our picnic part, so that we talk to each other and not to voice floating on radio signals. Why do I feel like this is the similar uh, story? In the previous one also, she has mentioned they went out to some picnic, and in the wilderness where they have a ritual that they will not use their phone. So I think it seems that they lost their phone later, and then but they found out. So similar, is it? The prodigal son. Okay, the prodigal. Just wait. Prodigal. It's not prodigal. Okay, it's prodigal. Spending money freely and rather wastefully. Very generous. Okay, prodigal. Okay, I thought it's a prodigal. Okay, prodigal. That's a prodigal. What is the meaning of the word prodigal? Recklessly wasteful. Okay, prodigal comes from the Latin word podig, to derive, to drive away or waste. Definition of prodigal is to recklessly wasteful. Okay, what is a prodigal person? A prodigal person is someone who spends or wastes money, resources, or time in a reckless, extravagant, or self-indulgent manner. Derived from this one. Okay, but why is he saying prodigal son? There could be something meaning to it, right? So prodigal son. Okay, so prodigal, right? Okay.
Prodigal son.
A prodigal son. A prodigal son is a person who leaves home, family, or a group to live rebelliously or wastefully, but eventually returns repentant and is welcomed back with forgiveness. Originating from the biblical parables in Luke 15:11-32, it often describes a wayward person returns in the lesson of the grace. Literal meaning of a son who squanders his inheritance while living before returning home. He left the company several years ago, but now the prodigal son has returned. The prodigal son has returned to the team after 3 years absence. I'm sorry, I know the meaning. I've read the first one with the pronunciation of prodigal. So yeah, prodigal, right? Okay. So the prodigal, right? So the prodigal son, sprawled over the backseat, is trying to watch a show on his iPad, and I have to remind him that it's our no gadget day. He reluctantly, tuck it away, and perhaps in retaliation starts tugging at his seatbelt, saying, "I'm wearing my seatbelt only because you are driving." I reply, "That's terribly sexist, And Pat comes his answer, "It would be sexist if I said all women are bad drivers." Yeah, that's true, right? Yeah, that's true, because if I say that, okay, I'm wearing seatbelt because you're driving it, that's not sexist. It would be sexist if I say that, okay, I'll wear seatbelt if any female driver is driving. I reply, "That's terribly, sexist, And Pat comes his answer, "It would be sexist if I said all women are bad drivers." Here I'm referring just to you. In the midst of arguing with the man of the house about why left is right and right is wrong, and not just when you're driving, I glance at the rearview mirror and notice that my younger son is busy texting. I reprimand her. And this is my not younger son. My younger one is busy texting. I reprimand her and Miss Smarty Pants Wales, but I want to talk to Anya. Feeling more like a prison warden than a participant in this family outing, I reply, "And I want to talk to Brad Pitt, but we can't always get what we want, so put that phone away." Okay, it seems that I think I made a mistake. I'm not exactly sure. I've read like 1 month back the first part, and second part I've read a few pages, that too in a bookstore. I've not read the entire thing, so I might have read the story from that second part of the first few pages. Could be possible. 11:20 a.m. The four of us are standing below a deserted hillock. The sun is already beating on us, and that mixed with the four Marine house of house and 2 drinks that are waiting the night before seems to make this pimple-sized hill as daunting as climbing Mount Everest. Luckily, I have 2 Punjabi Sherpas of my own, and I hand them the ice box, strengthen my resolve, grab the younger one, and off we go. 11:45 a.m. I have to go to. I like the fact that she's given an entire timeline. I have to go to bathroom and change Miss Smarty Pants, and though I give her a pick of various bushes all lined up in the toilet with the highest blue ceiling made by God himself, she's not satisfied. "What if something bites my bottom?" she asks. Finally, just as she agrees to squat, she repeats her favorite questions. "Mama, you always say that God is everywhere, so is God in the sky? Is he in the bushes? Is he, in the grass?" And when I nod yes, she asks, "So if God is everywhere, then why I am peeing, and am I doing it on him?" We find a spot beneath us, a lush banyan tree, and I open the icebox and hand my younger one a sandwich. She immediately pulls it apart and starts discarding the salad. I try coaxing. It's not coaxing. Coaxing. Okay, no, I'm not exactly sure. Coaxing. Coaxing, right? Okay, coaxing. To persuade someone gently. Coax. The child wasn't hungry, but his mother coaxed him into eating a little. To persuade somebody gently. To influence by gently urging special attention. Coaxing, okay. Okay, I try coaxing her into eating the tomato slice with a joke. Do you know what the tomato fleeing the hen's factory told his slowpoke brother? Ketchup or ketchup? The prodigal son immediately chimes in, Mom, please never make these jokes in a public. People will throw so many eggs and tomatoes that you will make masala omelette for a month. Let them, I say, I'm happy to save on my grocery bills. I have only one caveat. I want to know the religion of everyone throwing these ingredients my way. If any of them are Buddhist, I'll not accept any deliveries from them. So why? What has the poor Buddhist done to you now? The man of the house asked. I'm just trying to be inclusive. If people can take umbrage against so many religions, then why make the Buddhists feel left out? Someone should be offended by them as well, right? He looks at me perplexed and I continue, haven't you heard some dude ordered food on Zomato and then wanted to cancel his orders because the delivery man was a non-Hindu? I stop Miss Smarty Pants from surreptitiously pushing bits of cucumber under the picnic blanket and say, I don't know why people make religion so complicated. If you ask me, I think the core of all the spiritual belief is that the recipe of a basic sponge cake, the ingredients are the same: charity, peace, tolerance. The rest is just different sort of icing. Pick one that suits you best. But when a buttercream or chocolate glaze, it's the same as choosing to eat a certain animal or not. Fasting once a week through the years or one month at a time, talking to God on Friday or Sundays. I think even this one, God versus multiple gods, is not very different from the concept of an entire cake versus pastries. If you ask me, religions conflict are just caused by the people licking the icing rather than digging into the cake. My younger one interrupts, where have you packed cake? I want some cake. The prodigal son laughed. There's no real cake, dummy. This is just one of mom's weird analogies. Get used to it. I sigh. All this wisdom that I waste on you people, I should just save it and one day start a sastang of my own. So you guys watch while the world is going completely bananas. Baba, Twinkle, Dave, art of the cake engineering will be the Kela of one worth following. Why do I feel like she is using Sadhguru's, hinting at Sadhguru's? Because he has inner engineering. My words are drowned out. Words are drowned out by my younger one now chanting cake, cake, cake. 2:30 p.m. Rocks have been climbed and minor cliff have been scaled. When we finally return to our faded blanket on a dusty ground and lie down flat on our backs in the shade, the sun dabbles in a moving print of a shadow, leaves on our arms and stomach as we look up at the partly cloudy sky through the tangle of our branches. There is silence, a still silence where you can hear the tiny insects in a nearby scrubs, the sound of a wave on the other side of the cliff, and breathes long held now slowly exhaled. 3:40 p.m. It's time to leave and a phone is pulled out for the first time in hours. Despite my protest, we are going back another route that involves catching a ferry and organizing a car to wait on the. It's a chaos. The ferry is packed with people, each with a phone in hand and all wanting selfies with the man of the house. We scramble into the car and while looking for a packet of a chewing gum, I realize my phone is missing from my pocket. Okay, so I think that it's not in the this entire story is the phone lost and all those are not in the first part. It's rather in the second part, which I've read like the first initial few 2-3 pages 1 month prior in a bookstore. So I remember that story, but now I'm reading the second one from the start. So that's why I thought like it might be in the first book. So it's not in the first book, it's the second book. Okay, so I'm sorry. I scrambled into the car and while we're looking for a packet of chewing gums, I realized that my phone is missing from my back pocket. Grabbing the man of the house phone, tried dialing my numbers, and though I can hear it ringing at the other ends, there is no sound in the car. My older one postulates that it must be have fallen near the dock and then he must have another brainwave. He pulls out his iPad and says, I can trace your phone. And sure enough, there on the iPad screen is on my phone. It is about 2 kilometers away in the opposite direction. So I beg the man of the house to turn and drive over towards my phone. Street crumbles under his breath but gives in. We are racing towards the blip on the iPad when the prodigal son says, Mom, I think someone has picked up your phone because it is now coming towards us. We try calling but the other person doesn't pick up. The prodigal son says, park on the side, Dad, and get me down. The man is somewhere here, so I can see it on the iPad. He's almost next to us. The man of the house refuses, and I snap. Can't you do this much for me? Shah Jahan can build Taj Mahal for his beloved, and you can't even step out of the car. The prodigal son says, Dad, he's getting away. Let's chase him. And if off we go, chasing the moving blip that represents my phone. The man must be on the bike because he is moving fast, and we finally give up. The prodigal son says, Mom, I can erase your phone and all your, all your information, store all your data from the iPad, and that he can't use it. Should I? And feeling like Putin ordering a missile strike. Okay, so I thought like, what Putin? What? Okay, it's Vladimir Putin, the prime minister or the president of Russia, and feeling like Putin ordering a missile strike. I say yes, destroy it. 5:15 p.m. No gadget day has gone down the drain. So I'm now frantically, using the man of the house phones, trying to get one for myself because obviously I may die if a day passes without or people calling me spouting nonsense like Bhabiji, I won your good friendship. We are home, and as I get out of the car in a foul mood, I hear plink. There on the floor is my cracked, erased, now diseased phone. It was in the car all along with the ringer turned off. There was no mysterious man with a mustache or a mole on the motorbike as we imagined. We had been chasing our own tails and signal alike. Okay, a signal alike. Okay, so there was a lack in the signal, and all this rubbish technology did was prevent us from checking the car thoroughly. Disgruntled, and I hate to admit it, bored without my phone, so I decided to visit my mother's, chomping out on a bowl of a makhana. I started to telling her about my disastrous day. Mom, don't you think it's become an epidemic? What she says, it's COVID back? No, I'm talking about the phone menace. Everywhere you look, people have their heads bent over the tiny screens. My mother interrupts me to tell me that she has found a vase that she thinks I should buy and starts showing me the pictures on Instagram. I protest. This is exactly my point. Again, there is a screen in the middle, turning a simple one-on-one conversation to yet another threesomes. Oh yes, okay. So I'm not sure if the readers know what does threesome means. Turning a simple one-on-one conversation into yet another threesome. Another threesome, beta. I hope you're not turning experimental at this age. Naughty grandmother. No, I didn't mean it literally, Mom. God, what is the point of talking to you? Sometimes I wish Hema Malini was my mother instead. As leads, I would get a canned water purifier free. I think there was an advertisement of the canned, and she could be Hema Malini because the way she has mentioned it. Okay, over dinner, I tell the man of the house about my exchange with my mother. I can never talk to Mom without her showing me, some antique on her phone. Is it antique? It is antique, right? Okay, antique. Antique, okay, antique. That's okay. Very old and therefore unusual and valuable. An antique. I can never talk to Mom without her showing me some antique on her phones. I say these gadgets have really taken our lives. I mean, go to any restaurants and you will see couples sitting together at the table but looking at their respective screens. We take selfies together before we even look into each other's eyes. We call our friends less because to press like press like on Instagram is not as complicated. The machines were meant to free us, but now we are enslaved by the very freedom we pursued as heads bent and eyes lowered. Yeah, I think this is very common, right? Your heads, most of the people, if you see in metro or in a bus, their heads are always bent it, so in their phone. So yeah, we call our friends, okay, this one's and this okay, but now we are enslaved by the very freedom we pursued as heads bent and eyes lowered. We look solely at our masters as we tap away. The man of the house sighs, Array, why can't you be like the phone in my pocket right now? I say, what? Stuck to your thigh? He replies, no, just on silent mode. Standing beside every great man, there is often a woman constantly telling him what he is doing wrong, and she is usually right. Standing beside every great man, standing beside every great man, there is often a woman constantly telling him what he is doing is wrong, and she usually is right. Now the second part is motherhood. The top title name is Motherhood, Kal and Aaj. So motherhood, it's a period where a female have a baby, not just female, but female with their respective husband, they have a baby, and this entire period is known as a motherhood. And Kalyanaj, so motherhood, Kalyanaj. Kal means tomorrow. It could also mean yesterday, depending upon the context. Kal means tomorrow, and Aj means today. So motherhood, tomorrow, and today. As a child in 1970s, I recall my mother's duties being clearly defined. The most important was ensuring we finished the 2 rotis on our plate. In my sister's case, this was an arduous task as mom had to keep poking her younger child's cheek where lumps of masticated wheat were deposited like they were gathering compound interest. Others revolved around completing our homework and the mandatory braiding of hair. Sometimes not satisfied with the two pigtails, these plaits were twisted back to the sides of our heads and fastened with a ribbon. Will look more like goats with the flapping ears than little girls. Aside from these daily rituals, we were left to our own devices. This meant we had ample time to chase chicken in a nearby dump or run down the lane to Gopal's shop for a sweet on a credit. We even had a setting with the juice wala on the beach, along with the selling sugarcane juice and ice cold cholas. He saved us all a bottle of a caps of gold spots. During that time, the most significant event in our life was the announcement of a gold spots famous contest where bottle caps with the Jungle Book and characters could be exchanged for a prize. Like the other mothers of the time, my mother was not particularly bothered by our dubious social activities as long as we didn't argue and perform a decent namaste in front of our guest. When I compare what motherhood meant when I was a child to what I have to undertake as a modern mother, it is terrifying. My initiations into motherhood began in 2002. Okay, so that means her eldest, I think it could be the child, this one a boy, right? Eldest son is 23, around 23, depending on what month. When my son was born, okay, yes, this was the time when my husband told the visitors that I was unavailable because I was milking. Okay, milking. So what do you call? I mean, I don't know if. Okay, I would normally say that she's giving a food. Okay, what is it called when female are feeding milk to their child? Milking. Is it milking? Lactations. Feeding milk to a child from the breast is called breastfeeding. Okay, yeah, that's very common. You could have said it breastfeeding, or it could also be mean nursing. I think she's breastfeeding. She's breastfeeding. Breast.
Feeding milk to a child from the breast is called breastfeeding or
Breastfeeding or nursing. It is the process of providing infant or toddler with the milk produced by the mammary glands. Other term often includes for inclusivity includes chest feeding or body feeding, while the act of producing milk is known as a lactations. Circling, the action of the infant feeding directly from the breast, expressing pumping recommendations. Okay, I don't know. So I think breastfeeding is the best one. Breastfeeding. So this was the time when my husband told a visitor that I was unavailable because I was milking, and immediately sealed my transformation from a hot chick to a cow. It was also a period when an entire generation of mothers would show newborn baby Einstein videos to stimulate their brains. It didn't occur to anyone that not only did Einstein's mother not play any videos with her son, but as evident in her letters, she was primarily preoccupied with his appearance instead of his intellect. In her memoirs, Einstein's wife states that just before the genius was about to receive the Nobel Prize, his mother rushed towards him with a comb pen and said, "There is nothing I or anyone, with the exception perhaps of a god, can do about your great, big, darling, deformed head, but there is something we can do about your hair. Hair, as we have already established, has always been a large part of mothering." Hair? What hair? Though the mother of 70s and 80s often had to moonlight as hairdressers, and modern mothers, beside having hairdressing skills, are meant to be a therapist, event planners, stylists, educators, motivational coaches, and nutritionists rolled into one. We must also preferably hold down jobs with one hand and our children's with others. We must breastfeed, but not only have droopy breasts. We must shovel the right combination of nutrients down their throats and avoid eating their leftovers to reacquire the waistlines we once had before these creatures turned our wombs into their personal camper vents. We must ensure that they are entertained, mingle with the right peers, and praise their lopsided drawings like we are courteous. owing to the emperor with no clothes. All this should be accomplished by a method called gentle parenting, unlike our mothers who order us around like army colonels. Yeah. In pursuit of this parenting style, my bedtime routine with my younger one often stretches endlessly as I combat questions like why it matters that you brush your teeth every night, even if those teeth will fall off soon enough. To get her off the iPad, I need to deploy statistics about the search of myopia in children. In the list of roles of a mother need to play today, I omitted mentioning the largest one, becoming a screen time monitor. Looking at this, children with their heads bent over the flickering screens, I can't help feeling a certain nostalgia for a time when our imaginations were our greatest fullest. We strained, when bougainvillea flowers to create a tinted water that we applied on cheeks and t-shirts. We turned rainwater fill portholes into our own French Riviera. We where we would set sail paper boats made of newspaper mark sheets. Today we are like to stop our children from playing in a muddy puddles and run behind them with the sanitizers to attack germs. Yeah, I think that's very true, right? What I've heard is that if you have been constantly in touch with the meat, meat in a sense, no, not meat. I mean, I'm talking about the sands and the mitti. Yeah, the mitti. Then I think it actually boosts the immunity, right? Otherwise, if you just run around behind your children for, applying sanitizers all the time, I don't know what will happen. Muddy puddles and run behind them with the sanitizers to attack the germs. While the modern mothers does ensure her children are safer than the previous generations, I wonder if we are wrapping them into so many layers of bubble wrap that they cannot experience the real world except as a hazy blur. Are we doing them a disservice by raising them in a homogenized, sanitized world where they play the same games online and have the same extracurricular activities? Is that why the current generations with their similar mannerisms, clothes, and interests all seem like a clone of each other? I don't know. In the playground of a modern motherhood, the seesaw between security and liberty has a prominent place. Too much freedom and you will be seen as uninvolved. Too little and you are stifling them. This journey through the landscape of a motherhood, cull and arch, remains unchanged, along with the requisites blame and kill. Perhaps this Mother's Day is instead of flowers or candy, I will reserve my present for the future. One day I would like to receive the gift I finally gave my mother. I raised her saintly in a pedestal of motherhood because pedestals are narrow by nature and it only takes one twirl to fall. In my 40s, I gave my mother the gift of acceptance. I let her know that I didn't blame her for any inadvertent slips up. Oh, I mean, yeah, if you're able to have this kind of a conversation with your mother, it's good, right? Because she says that I gave my mother the gift of acceptance. I let her know that I didn't blame her for any inadvertent slips ups. After having my children, I understood that our jobs as mother is not to keep our children perfect childhoods, but to love them dearly and do our best within our inherent limitations. If I'm honest, I haven't given her complete absolutions yet. I'm holding a bit back until she lets go of her peculiar habits. There has never been a significant event in my life where my mother, instead of being excited about my achievements, has not started fretting about my hair and when the worried frowns reached out to put my stray strands in place. On this front, I can safely state that Einstein and I had something in common: our mother's obsession with our hair. They were more like there was more like that I had to say about motherhoods. But the time I reached the penultimate paragraph, my younger one began asking for her screen passwords. After negotiating with her, I couldn't quite remember the point for my grade final. Okay, I'm not exactly sure about is that negotiating, right? So negotiation with your child, is it good or not? Basically, making a deal with you. Clearly, in some cases, motherhood is a journey where because some people say that we don't negotiate with our child. If I say something, you do it. Why? Because I said so. Right. So I think I saw a conversation, right? Some parents, they were saying that we don't negotiate with our child. They listen to me. They will listen to me and they will do what I say because they are living in my house. They can do whatever they please once they leave my house. And I wouldn't say even that one is a bad parenting, right? Because there is no good or bad, right? So even this kind of people, they get a good discipline, the small children, right? And if I say study, you have to study. Not like, okay, you have to study for 10 minutes and negotiate and then you have to, take them out and all those things. No, we don't negotiate with the child, right? And if, the child asks, but dad, why? Because I said so. Because I said so. And clearly, in some cases, motherhood is a journey where someone constantly pulls the emergency chain and halts your train of thought. It seems that my reading speed is slowing down because earlier it was showing that it'll take 1 hour. Now it's showing 2 hours, 1 hour and 51 minutes. Now, third, married, not branded. I don't get what she meant by this, but I don't care. Married, not branded. 8 a.m. Sipping on my first cup of coffee, I can tell my sister, you know, I was so upset that I was sick last week, but now I look at it as a blessing. I didn't have to go to any of those Mehta wedding functions, and I saw what they were all wearing on Instagram anyway. Loose motions is not a bad thing. By the way, it's not about just the perfect excuse to and stay at home, but also I have lost a few pounds. She's getting grouchy in her peri-menopause years because she snaps at me every week. You give me as update of how much weight you have lost and gained. It's not the rupee against the dollar that anyone has such deep interest in your point 0.5 shifting parameters. 11:45 after 3 hours of taking a guillotine to my new manuscript. What is guillotine? Guillotine means that it's a French old system, right? Just wait, okay, I'll see what Gull. Guillotine. Yeah, it is exactly there, right? Okay. How do I pronounce it?
Guillotine.
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 Pronunciations. Guillotine.
Guillotine.
Guillotine is okay. Gui. It's not gui. It's guillotine. Guillotine.
Guillotine.
It's a guillotine. 3 hours of taking a guillotine to my new manuscripts. I am saved by the bell. My newly single and more than willing to mingle friend walks in with 2 frappuccinos and a bad mood. This dating thing is frightening. In this day and age, you can't send a single message without worrying that the whole world will see it. Bus people now just take screenshots and out it goes, she says. I reply, well, if it's really something explicit, then isn't it better to just call instead of texting? Sexting, okay. No, even if you call, then they might record it, right? Okay. People can also record conversation, she adds, yeah. I thank my lucky stars that my dating days seem to be behind me. Have a sip of my frappuccinos and say, all right, I have an idea. Next time, just call the guy. I want to see what is, okay, how does the frappuccino look? Because I've never had a frappuccino. Okay, it's not even in the frappuccino. Where's that? Can't even fucking. Is it copy? How do I? Full definition. Okay, just frappuccino. I want to see how does it look. Frappuccino is a line of blended iced coffee drinks sold by Starbucks. It may consist of coffee or a cream base blended with an ice ingredient such as a flavored syrups and usually topped with a whipped. And says, all right, I have an idea. Next time, just call the guy, pant on the phone and hang up. If he ever records and plays it for anyone, you can always say you are doing, aerobics. You are really so uncool. No one does aerobics anymore. Stuff. Oof, I really hate all this technology. It was so much simpler in the 90s. I reply, be grateful. Weren't you able to, okay. Be grateful. Weren't you able to be a part of Ambani wedding? Thanks to social media, we are all attending weddings, and some of that we are not invited to without even having to shell out for half-away decent gifts. We pop over to my mother's and I find her head buried in. I reply, be grateful. Wouldn't you be able to part of Ambani's wedding? Thanks to social media, we are all attending weddings. Some that we are not invited to without even having to shell out for a half a decent gift. 3 p.m. We pop over to my mother and find her head buried in many lives, many masters. I call out to her and she replies with, Hi, endometriosis. Accustomed to her endless pet names like Diamond, Lady Diana, and even Alfred, I'm still taken aback of at being affectionately called by a term describing a menstrual ailment. When I protest, she cheerfully explains what's wrong with it. In this birth, you are my child. In another, you can be a I don't know what is cyst cyst or a cyst is a closed. A cyst. Okay, so it's a closed. A cyst is a closed sac-like pocket of tissues filled with the fluid, air, or pus that can be developed anywhere in the world, most often in the skin. Okay, just wait. Cyst. Okay, so I understood. Okay, what's cyst? Okay, what's cyst? Okay. Uh, when I protest, she cheerfully explained what's wrong with it. In this birth, you are my child. In another, you can be a cyst. And in third, you could just have been endometriosis. What is endometriosis? I mean, some heavy words. So, endometriosis, a condition resulting from the appearance of the endometrial tissue outside the womb and caused pelvic pain. Okay, so I think what they could have done better is that, yeah, you can see the definition, but I think there should be an option of how to pronounce it as well. There should be, not saying there isn't. There should be. When I protest, okay, and off she goes. Okay, and off she goes into the kitchen, leaving the twin pillars of Hinduism and karma shaking at the knees along with me. At 3:15 p.m., we are now being forced to try the kanvi that she has brought in anticipation of my Nana's overbearing cousins Champa Ben's monthly visit. When I protest that I don't like this particular dish, it's slimy and makes me feel sick. There's a large yellow worm sliding along my tongue. She informs me that I have always had a terrible taste and brings up the time when I rejected her advice and refused to wear an embroidered shawl as a kid. My defense that I was going for a fashion show and it was not a shawl but a blanket she had bought in Manali doesn't seem to hold any weight in her code of maternal justice. 6 p.m. Jamnagar making news on the global stage because of the Ambani celebration had made Champa Ben's heart swell like a pea-stuffed kachori. On the extended family WhatsApp group, not only had she posted pictures of the three Khans performing together on a stage, but also a video of Mark Zuckerberg gushing over Adnan Ambani's watch with a comment, Hamara Facebook wala has also never seen such top class items. Yeah, at that time, a lot of memes. I call it meme, right? After dissecting that another Ambani wedding once again at great length, Champa Pen decided to focus on us. Kamal Che, even those modern girls like Radhika are changing their last name, but okay. Kamal Che, even those modern girls like Radhika are changing their last name, but you two sister have still not changed. I laughed. If I had to change my name, Champa Ben, trust me, I would have changed my first name and not last. We are married, not branded. Okay, just wait, okay, I don't know. Let's see if they have changed or not. Anand Ambani. Okay, Anand Ambani is 31 years old and spouse Radhika Merchant. She is 31 years old. So, let's see. No, she has not changed her name. Okay, let me check. Did change her surname? Yes, Radhika Merchant officially changed her surname to Radhika Ambani after marrying Anand Ambani on June this one. She adopted the married name following the wedding and has been referred as Radhika Ambani in post-marriage media interactions. Maiden name is Radhika Merchant, married name, okay. Branded like a cow. Okay, so I'm just curious, right? If I get married to any person, it could be anyone, right? Could be any woman, right? Okay, so it could be from Hindu, could be Christian, Islam, open to everything. But my name is Tenzin Vese. So we don't have the culture of our name as such, right? My dad name is Tashit Siring. My mom Siring Choitan. But they're not related at all. It was, so we don't have that, changing name or, that surname. We don't have that surname. Branded like a cow, or that for the 20 people, okay? And where was I? Where was I? Okay, I love. If I had to change my name, Champa Ben, trust me, I would have changed my first name, not my last. We are married, not branded. Is Champa Ben's eloquent response. Branded like a crow, or for that matter, taken over by a company. It's not like Rinke and I are two small businesses that have been bought by Godrej. So now we have to change our brand name to theirs. Now I reply, after 15 years of being married, I wonder why people still ask me this question. Isn't it order that only one partner has to redesign their identity, wipe out their past, while others one goes through the transition unchanged? My mother has a sip of her tea. Khanna's sister, okay, Rajesh Khanna, okay, Khanna, okay, Khanna or Khanna. Twinkle Khanna, okay? Khanna sisters now and forever. This too keep saying Pagal sisters would it be more apt? Trying to save us from another of Mother Dearest lengthy lectures, my sister changed the subject quickly. Did you catch all those Meghan Markle interviews? At first, it felt like a fairy tale wedding, but after seeing all that royal family dramas, I don't think she has that. She has had it easy. I guess it's not easy being married at all. I say we give up homes, jobs, names, and bends over backwards to please. Till a few years later, we find ourselves lying horizontal on our backs, hoping no one walk all over us. I think about my younger one and wonder if after she is married, she will change, add on, or stick to her already hyphenated last names. How odd that these questions won't even arise regarding the prodigal son. The same way that we have always been worried about our girls and not as much about our boys, keeping the room door open with when the tuition sir comes and a tuition sir comes over, ensuring that the school bus has a female chaperone, making sure that as little girls they were not alone with even men from the extended family, and along with it all this trying to strike a delicate balance between teaching them to be on guard and yet not to be frightened of the world. My sister interrupts my meandering thoughts. You're talking about last names, but what about all the tam jams we have? We will have to do. Tam jam means all those things that you have to do. The bar is now set very high after the money events. If no one else, then at least Champa Ben will judge us. She laughs. I reply, well, I can't dance like Neeta Bhabi. The last time I tried dancing to Tamaloge during the pandemic, I think even God didn't want to see my uncoordinated footwork because I immediately fell down and fractured my legs. My husband can barely stay awake after 10 p.m. and we both get anxious about hosting dinner parties for over 20 people. I pause for breath. If my children really want me to be happy, then the best thing they can do is just elope. Okay, elope means to just run away, right? I want to see the definitions. Okay, I just want to see the exact definitions and pronunciation.
Elope.
Allope, it's not elope. Okay, allope.
Elope.
Allope.
Elope.
Elope. To run away secretly to get married, okay? Elope, okay? So the best thing they can do is just elope. Champa Ben looks at me disapprovingly and then says, both pat nakar, here, eat something. So that means don't say chat chat chat, just eat something. Passing the plate of kandvi to me, you girls have to learn to bend a little better. Young people have no tolerance. Champa Behan, youngest people have no tolerance. Okay, Champa Behan tolerance is what a bacteria develops against an antibiotics where both remain unchanged, indifferent to each other's presence. I think that sometimes it's better to chaff against each other and like a particles in an oyster. You may just grow a pearl or perhaps help each other like the bird that hangs out with the zebras and eat ticks off their backs. But most importantly, you should support each other to have a great partnership like. And as I'm racking my brain for the perfect pair, Champa Pen pops in again with the like Apno Modi and Amit Bhai. So even they are aware of these two's Bhaichara, okay? Apno Modi and Amit Bhai. That wasn't exactly the pair I had in mind, but I guess it's as good as an example as any. Humor is like a deodorant, okay? Deodorant, okay? Humor is like a deodorant. You can live without it, but if you use it, you make life easier for everyone around you, including yourself. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but there's a fascination among the young girls that they want the partner. If you ask them what kind of a quality your partner must have, the first on the list, not first always, but yeah, on the top of the list, it would invariably be he or she has I mean mostly she has to be he has to be funny, humorous, and yeah, good sense of humor. Now the jump number 4: how to say no to Mami G's halwa. I'm not exact. So the problem with me is that I always get confused, right? Okay, between see, okay, what is the husband's mom and dad called? I think they are called. What I know is goes to Dada Dadi, right? So it's simple as that. Dada Dadi, and I think it's called something else. Dada Dadi. It's not called Dadi. It's called Jiju, Mami. That I get confused. And your wife's parents, right? What do you call Jijaji, Sisasur? Okay, I don't know. Now the question is how to say no to Mami Ji's halwa. Are you free tomorrow at 3? I need a favor, asked an old acquaintance with an exotic mix of British and Goan accent. Okay, that means she's from Goa. The absence of the letter H in the 3 as obvious as a missing front tooth. I need a favor. Just wait, okay. H in the letter. So where is the H? Mix of British and this one, the absence of the letters H in the 3, and the 3 as obvious as missing front tooths. I looked up at him. Okay, it's him. The sun making me squint, causing the reappearance of pesky floaters in my left eye and creating a halo around his curly mop. What do you need? My girlfriend is having an exhibition at the restaurants. Can you inaugurate it and take some picture with her for the paper? In the decade I've had a home in Goa. I have tried to match my routine to that of a sloth. Each day consists of riding my yellow scooters to the beach, reading books in a hammock, and watching the bats quench their thirst in our pool. Cutting a ribbon while grinding for photographers sounded awful. After an awkward pause, I said, okay, totally. No, of course, yes. A sentence that made no sense. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Okay, totally no. Of course, yes. A sentence that made no sense, but for the nodding of my head, which indicated an affirmative response. When he moved on to greet other customers, my friend sitting at the table with a mouthful of buttered poi grumbled, I can't believe you said yes to that. I didn't want to, I protested. Forget proper clothes. I don't even have a car here. Do you know how stupid I am going to look arriving for this inauguration in front of the press in my bloody scooters? Now I have already agreed, so let's finish it off. I prepared for this momentous events by finding a dingy saloon where getting a terrible blow dry and buying a new dress. When we arrived at the restaurant, it was deserted. Well, aside from a few blue streamers strung across the ceiling and the owner with a white bandage on his head, we discovered his girlfriend had broken up with him. He had then gone on drinking in a binge, fallen down a flight of stairs, drunk some more to numb the pain. He suddenly rose from his numbing stupor and decided that we must all have a good time. My friend was pulled to dance and unceremoniously twirled about. A buzz dancing queen was remixed with a cry of a pain as she hit her shoulders against a pole. After that, he climbed into the table just when I thought there was another bird, a stumbling samba on the cart. She passed out, his legs hanging off one end of the table. We scrambled out with our injured bits, her shoulders and my pride. On the way back, she berated me. I told you we should not go. Why the hell did you agree to this idiotic thing? And the truth came out. I guess I didn't know how to say no. I'm not only the only one who has not who has it's been a situation where there is no with an exclamation mark looming inside my head, but a tepid yes pops out of the mouth instead. This stuffed exchange happens for myriad. I think I've seen this word. I forgot. Myriad means a lot of things, if I'm not wrong, right? Unnecessary. R-A-I-D.
Myriad.
It's myriad, right? It's a myriad. Extremely large, countless, or indefinite numbers of people or things. It acts as both a noun, myriad, or twice an adjective. Myriad stars, commonly used to describe vast, varied, or too numerous to count quantities. The garden has myriad of flowers. Okay, myriad. Okay, myriad.
Myriad.
Myriad. Okay, myriad.
Myriad.
It's not myriad. Okay, it's myriad.
Myriad.
It's myriad. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Where the fuck am I? I'm not only the one who has been in a situation where there's no with an exclamation mark. Okay. This stuffed exchange happens for myriad reasons. Okay, for many reasons. Myriad. Okay, from worrying about acceptance and wanting to avoid criticisms to fear of the consequence linked to refusals. Also, coming across as an agreeable, likable person is a hardwired evolutionary instinct. In the Paleolithic age, if members of the tribe did not like you, then during scarcity. Okay, oh, I get confused. Scarcity or scarcity? Just wait. Okay, I'll just do. Can't even just wait. Okay, how do I copy it? Nah, I don't want to make a note. Scarcity. I would say scarcity. Nah, it's not frappuccino. The fuck. Scarcity.
Scarcity.
Yeah, scarcity. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's a scarcity. Scarcely. Okay, scarcity. I repeat. In the Paleolithic age, if members of the tribe did not like you, then during scarcity, guess who would go without food, or perhaps even find themselves tied to a log and roasting over fire? Clearly not M's popular with a wide smile and ability to nod enthusiastically, though we no longer depend as strongly on approval in order to survive. We still find it difficult to turn people down. No is a fortress that can shield us from wasting time and energy. I think yeah, no is very important. If you don't want to do it, just say it no. But there are some friends who will be like, please, please. I've encountered those moments where they will say like, please, please, no, you can't say no, please. No means no. No is a fortress that can shield us from wasting time and energy. I think that's actually a very good line. Should I just post? Just wait. No is a fortress that can shield us from wasting time and energy. Just I want to tweet this in Twitter. Where the fuck am I doing? I just tweeted. Hang on. Hang on, hang on, hang on. So it says that no is a fortress that can shield us from wasting time and energy. Okay. So thought for the day today is no is a fortress that can save, that can shield us from wasting time and energy. Okay. And yes is the drawbridge that lets others inside our domains. If the drawbridge is lowered repeatedly, then we ended up overwhelmed. On the other hand, if always sealed, then we end up missing out. To balance, as boring as it sounds when prescribed as a part of a nutrition plan, is the key. In the last month itself, I have been to write a foreword for my book. Okay, no. In the last month itself, I have been asked to write a foreword for my book. I have another helping. Miami, okay. Mami G made a halwa herself. Ask your husband to make a video, wishing my cousin happy birthday. Try some shisha. Don't be a bore. Shisha, okay. Try some shisha. Don't be bored. Can you help rewrite my daughter's college essays? Since you loved Mami G's halwa, have some laddus. She has made them only for you. If I agree to all these requests, I would be an obese, right? Stressed out, wrecked with the eventual impaired lung functions. In the end, I did cave into some because I didn't want to hurt the other person's feeling. I then set out to discover how to say no gracefully. Here's what I found: the Mannat policy. Mannat. Mannat means it's like your wish or a dream, right? Okay, the Mannat policy. I'll give it an example, right? In Hindi, if you say that, मैं मन्नत मानता हूँ because मैं मन्नत मानता हूँ कि अब ये बनिए. That means I wish and I will ask for this, or I will what is it called, man, when you okay, just wait, okay, मन्नत मानता हूँ. मन्नत, how do I say that exactly in English? मैं मन्नत मानता हूँ. I will ask, I mean, what do you call when you ask a god? Just wait, okay, when you request a god. The Mannat policy in a podcast by Tim Ferriss. Okay, it seems that she watches or she listens to Tim Ferriss' podcast. Okay, in Mannat policy in a podcast with Tim Ferriss, he talks about well-crafted rejection letters that people send him for his book. He says these letters are successful at their task because they don't make the recipient feel that it's personal. Each one explained their predicaments and then added different iterations of turning down things as a blanket policy. When I asked her cousins, what she does to get out of the situation, she gave me the Indian version of a blanket policy, or I just say I can't do it because I have taken a mannat. Okay, I don't get it. I just say I can't do it because I've taken a mannat. Timely pause. Tweak editor suggested the buying more time strategy. Stalling is also advocated by a psychotherapist, therapist Julie, Vigilance. Let me think about it and get back to you. Gives you enough time to evaluate the request and come up with the right words to reject it. Yeah. So I mean, you have a lot of options. If someone asks for something, then you can outright, just reject it. No, I can't do it. Or you can say, give me a moment. I'll just try to talk to my managers about my timetable, and then I'll get back to you. You can say that also, and in that time you will get
your enough time to just face how do you want to reject it. So yeah, the timely pause. Twigs editor suggested that the buying more time strategy. Stalling is also advocated by psychotherapist Julia. This one, let me think about it and get back to you. Gives you enough time to evaluate the request and come up with the right words to reject it. The switcheroo method, providing an alternative, is my favorite because along the with appeasing others, it makes me feel less guilty as well. Come over for a drink and don't make any more excuses. Was a friend's slightly annoyed request, considering my New Year's Eve hangover had left me feeling like I would have suffered less if I hadn't have contracted a moderate case of COVID-19. I shot back with, I would love to, but I'm not drinking these days. Let's go for a walk instead. And our equation veered back from being as frozen as her recently renovated foreheads. The speechless spell. This relies on shock value. The other person is so taken back aback that they can't protest. I can't. Yeah, I'm feeling guilty. I haven't spent enough time with my cat. It's a frequent excuse used by a coworker. Then it's a thing like my astrologer says I have to avoid going out on Fridays. One of the best excuses I've heard came from a well-known actress who told a common friend, "I can't come, darling, because I have a boil on my bum." No further questions were ever asked. If only I had of this inventive pretext when I had been invited to the disastrous inaugurations. Often the ability to say no boils down to not just carbuncle, but also involves having a well-rehearsed, unverifiable excuses. I don't know what does I have a boil in my bum. What does it mean? So the Nike. Now the next topic is Ek the Tiger. It took a few years, but eventually Mummy G and I grew to appreciate and respect each other. I can say that this with some certainty because she would often say, "Hun, you have become very good." Okay, Hun. Okay, I don't know what is Hun. You have become very good. Considering the word Hun in Punjabi means now. Okay, and she had been saying this for over 10 years. I've never been sure at what point I went from Geeta to Sita, nor I'm certain when her status changed from auntie to mummy in my head. I think, she's talking about her husband's mother. Mummy Ji was an independent, outspoken woman, not unlike me. This led to many situations where the man of the house once confessed, "I feel sandwiched between you two." I comforted him by saying, "Well, then you get to be the fancy, avocado filling, while Mummy G and I are just a boring slice of bread." Mummy G, God bless her soul, despite her living a seemingly monotonous life, home all day, gym Khanna for her cards every evening, was as far from boring as scotch is from urine. This is a fact exemplified by the day I'm about to recount, when she turned perfectly mundane events into a memory that refuses to fade. 9 a.m. I'm sitting on the floor of my workshop arguing with the carpenter about the crow-shaped finales on the half-completed towering chair when my phone rings. It is Kanchan Masi, my mother-in-law, favorite cousin, who has just arrived from Chandigarh with her family and would like to come to my house for tea. I hastily, tell her, "Masi ji, I won't be home till 7 today. I would have invited you over for lunch, but my cook is on leave." And you know how terrible I am in the kitchen, and I hang up with a sigh of relief. 10 minutes later, my phone rings again, and it's Mummy Ji. Kanjan told me you have invited them for a lunch. How sweet, and don't worry, I'm sending Ram Singh down to your kitchens. He will make all the Kanjan's favorite things. One more thing, beta, if you have a little punch, will you wear a gharga choli or cover it up in a salwar kameez? I reply, I guess a salwar kameez, wondering why Mummy Ji has suddenly started asking me for fashion tips. She says, yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Why tell people you can't cook? Just like a big stomach, cover up your defects. Beta, no need to reveal all to everyone. I walk into the kitchen to see Mummy Ji's cook, lording over my stuff, especially Desi's Jeeves, okay, and recently he had been unwell despite a barrage of blood tests, which did not give us any startling, insights aside from the fact that his hemoglobin levels are significantly higher than mine. Desi Jeeves decided that this health would improve only if he went back to his village for a few weeks. Now that he is back and claims to be first class, to Didi, I asked him about his treat. When I went to Mangesh Baba, he hit me with a broom, and in 5 days all sickness gone. He tells me, I make a mental note that the next time he is ill, we can save on doctor's bill, as he just can request the watchman to clobber him with a vacuum cleaner so that he gets better even more swiftly. When my guest arrived, Kanjanji's husband, who seems to strongly believe in Vastu, tells me the steps in your steps to your house are over a fish pond, a sunken area. See, this is the place from where Lakshmi Ma enters the home, and you have put an obstacle in her way. Disgruntled because I really like my fish ponds, and now Mamiji may just take up this demolitions as her next pet project. So I mutter, it doesn't seem to stop people entering my house at the drop of a hat. So I'm sure Lakshmi Ma will also manage to saunter in without falling into the fish ponds. A withering look from the my mother-in-law, and I quickly added some more palak paneer, Uncle G. At 3:30 p.m., I have a massive headache, and fourthing and snarling at the prodigal sons when he peers at me and asks why I am behaving like the lead in The Exorcist. I tell him, don't know what is happening, but you may be right. I really feel like I'm possessed by an evil spirit. He knows me a little too well and says that though there may be a slight chance that my salvation may lie with a crucifix wielding priest, I should stop trying to diet today and try eating some carbs first. Sick of salads and craving spaghettis, I concede defeats and call my local bania. Baisa, please send 2 packets of Del Verde organic spaghetti. Replies, out of stock, madams. Will you try noodles? Then Maggie. If no, then try new Baba Ramdev's atta noodles. It's very good. So I ask him the most obvious question: is this also a 2 minutes noodle? And Pat comes to reply, no, madam, it is better 3 minutes noodles and bigger packet also. Now every woman will tell you that the size does indeed matter. Okay, so she thinks the size does matter. So I'm not exactly sure about the size of the Kumar. Now, though, every woman will tell you that the size does indeed matters, and every extra minute counts. I decide to skip Baba Ramdev's offering and eat leftover parathas. Mummy G is playing cards with the prodigal sons while I'm oscillating between being an avid spectator and surreptitiously answering emails. She stops dealing and looking at her grandson's fidgeting with his phone, says, Beta, are you also on that Snap Talk thing? He replies, Snapchat. Granny, you want me to install it for you? You can send Snapchat stories to Pomi Boa in Delhi. See how much easier it is now that I have taught both of you to make a WhatsApp video call. This will be even more fun. I don't have the heart to tell the prodigal son that despite his detailed instructions, Pomi Boa still can't tell the differences between an audio and a video call. Last week she swung open the bathroom doors and passed the phones to her 72-year-old husband while he was reaching for a towel. Mohanji, take this. Didi is calling from Bombay to wish you a happy birthday. At which point my mother-in-law promptly hung up as she had more than her fill of Mohanji looking resplendent in his wrinkled but squeaky clean birthday suit. Probably recalling the same incidents. Mummy G shutters. Thank you, beta. I think we will have just stick to normal phone calls. I bring up the topic of Desi Jeeves and his miraculous, cure, and Mummy G nods enthusiastically. Yes, if you have devotion in your heart, you will find miracles everywhere. Once I remember Asha Benji brought bottles of water from the full of Savage Mahim Creek and started disturbing. Okay, just wait. What was the? And started distributing it to everyone as a prasad. She handed me a bottle and said, Miracle water, Benji, sea water has become sweet. Hundreds of people are drinking the water and jumping into the creek. Ganga Ma has come to us herself, but you don't have to. And anyway, you have to go anyway for this jal because I have got it for you. In Hindi, jal means, in Hindi it's called jal, so in English it's called water. Was it really sweet, Mummy Ji? I didn't try it, but at the club I only like to take a little thumbs up, so I told her, no thank you, Asha Behan Ji, and she made a face and said, mention not. Thank God, beta, because I don't know what boon Asha Behan Ji got after drinking that water, but she did get acute dysentery. I replied, Mummy Ji, we spend so much time, energy, and yes, money in trying to appease invisible entities with exacting ritual that we become credulous about anything and everything. At the end of the day, it is all fear, isn't it? Fear of having nothing to rely on except ourselves. Fear is why we place all those godmen on towering pedestals. I add with a laugh, in our country, it is difficult to walk on the roads without falling into the potholes or bumping into a holy Baba. And honestly, the end result is pretty much the same. Religion and superstitions come in a buy one get two free policy, but eventually pop up the existential questions. Are we limping because of the pain or because of the crunch? Mamichi rolled the dice and says, better come. Some good advice, stop using so many big words or no one will come and sit next to you at parties. But you're right. No crutches and no limping for me. I sip my tea, grateful that I have a mother-in-law who is on the same page as me, and she adds, because beta, you see, after my knee replacement surgery, I too am fully pain-free. Mamichi once told me that two tigers cannot live in the same field. Yeah, because they are solitary animals. They cannot, stay together like lions. Lions, they stay together. So we call it lion's pride. That means a group of lions, group pride. But tigers, she was of course referring to the two of us. Fortunately, it turned out to be a false prophecy. We lived peacefully on the same premises for over 20 years. Still, our dual stories turned into Salman movie title Ek the Tiger and Ek. Okay, titles Ek the Tiger and Tigers in the Hai. The field, as she called it, is a lonely place. Now the next, it's the joys of midlife dosti. Dosti means friend. An old friend stayed with me last month. When it was time for her to leave, we hugged each other and I said, after 5 days, friends and fish both start to smell. Okay. I don't know, does fish smell after 5 days? After 5 days, okay, I think they're talking about the dead fish. Fish, okay, after 5 days, friends and fish both starts to smell. You are leaving just in time. My cousin standing with us took offense on her behalf. It was difficult to explain to him that it was a long-standing joke between us. Old friends develop a language of their own, a Morse code of jest and jibes only they can decode. The joke started when we were in our 30s, and at that point in our rushed, harried lives held in elements of truths. Now it seems to work as a defense mechanism against our sadness at having less time together. As young women, our friendships are forged with the lightning speeds and held together with a deep intensity. When I had just returned from the boarding school, a tall 18-year-old with the laughter-filled nasal voice decided to make me her best friend. My loneliness evaporated in her steamy dining room. The table always laden with the dishes left over from her mother's cooking classes. Our friendship had its bespoke fragrance, mixed of strawberry lip gloss, tandoori masala, spearmint chewing gum, and sometimes sour hangovers. Boyfriends and breakups were minor creases quickly ironed out by the warmth of our friendships. We were leaving the family nest. Okay, we were leaving the family nest, ready for a clumsy takes-offs. Relationship in our teens and 20s tend to be governed by identity information, like being in a room where my mirrors are placed opposite each other, creating a series of endless reflection around another group of teenagers. I felt awkward, always a step behind, but always, but around my best friends. I was the best version of myself, the funny girls with a spirit that matched her large bottom. The greatest friendship filled all your hollow cavities like the tides carrying seawater over a sandy depression. In my 30s, friendship took on a different pattern. Earthshine is a lunar phenomena where the dark side of the moon is lit by a radiant crescent like a lopsided green. I knew my friends existed, but most had been relegated to the background with just a silver shining bright. During this phase, hold seems like a constantly used phrase. Holding down jobs, holding together marriages, holding on to children. The days of a bar crawling were replaced with a couple dinners and Sunday brunches with the in-laws, a task and to-do list, and were like a termites burrowing into the yellowing fabric of our friendships, sometimes destroying them or at best turning them into a safety nets that caught us as we fell. Friendships revolved around being the repository of each other's secret with the passcodes that could never be shared. The time was carved out for our close pals, but we were far from sitting in the sidecast and singing our duet apart, those three like Jay video. Then along came in a creaky middle age. Juggling work and home had become effortless, and after decades of practice, and some of us were also grappling with the emptiness syndromes. Our mothers had started playing rummy with her friends, and when they had reached middle age, mine had a folding card table stacked in her garage, ready to be set up between her shoots and other engagements. Since playing rummy would further validate the frightening thought that we had truly turned into a mummy, my friends and I started playing board games. Mahjong being the latest entrant on the list. It's not that we suddenly have all the time in the world. It comes from knowing time is running. It's not just the women. I also see my husband starting to schedule weekly volleyball matches with the same focus that he fixes his shoots. While I'm guilty of merely moving meetings for our game get-togethers. The last time we played Mahjong, one of my friends got off an 8-hour flight and headed straight to the table set up in my house. This dedication reserved for our children is now being used to service our friends for our need for companionship. A few weeks ago, we went bowling chomping, chomping on French fries and trying to knock down pins. It didn't feel very different from the days when we played Pittu and aimed at a pile of a stone. The excitements of it strike, the groans when the ball went into the gutter, and cheers for one another were reminiscent of our times on the playground. I lost the first game, and my friend suggested having a heavier ball. I protested, no, you know how weak my joints are. I don't have a Poppy's biceps. She insisted I give it a try. I did, and I won. From zero to hero. This was the same woman who, in my 30s, had pushed me to stop shying away from the limelight. So my identity is no longer shaped by my friends, yet in their gaze, I find traces of the best version of myself. These are old friendship based on the trust, one that takes times to blossom, layer opening in the Fibonacci spiral slowly over decades, like the strings of a mogra. I sometimes spy at traffic lights in the morning, but white as a summer cloud. That will bloom my dust. Middle age has brought me back to the place my friend and I once inhabited in the threshold of adulthood. After years of being tied down with the responsibility, are able to fly again, swallow, migrating together, wings spreads out like a origami fans to the southern latitudes of our life. With time, you do get more comfortable in your skin, but that's because the poor thing is also not as tight as it used to be. With time, you do get more comfortable in your skin, but that because the poor thing is also not as tight as it used to be. Number 7, or why the vampire chased Amitabh and other ghastly jokes. Not exactly sure about the what is Amita. 8:30 a.m. We seem to celebrate every occasion with gusto. Come Diwali, there are diyas to be decorated and intricate rangolis on our porch. Every Christmas, the plastic tree is pulled out of a storage, and it's droopy. Branches get sun Santa's version of Botox. So good old tinsel stuffed in every crevice. And with the Halloween around the corner, I'm now getting ready for an annual dance with the devils. I'm standing in E invites to Miss Smarty pants friends when I'm interrupted by the man of the house. Have you told the staff not to clean the hall? Mystified, I reply, of course not. Why would I? Only to discover 5 minutes later that my Desi Jeeves had given everyone this instruction on my behalf. Flashback 2 days ago, while sitting at my desk, I took up and see cobwebs. I called Desi Jeeves and point to the ceiling. There is a spider web in the corner. He looked up and says, yes, Didi, should I remove it? Rolling my eyes, I say, why bother? Let it grow bigger and bigger and cover that whole ceiling so we save money on Halloween decorations. At which point, with a beaming smile, he walks away, not to get a step ladder as I had presumed, but to call a halt to all cleaning activities. In the decade that he has been with me, Desi Jeeves, okay, I don't know, has learned some great things like driving a car, the art of downloading pirated movies into his phone, and some decidedly odd dance forms that he exhibited with a great custody giving Ganesh resurgence. While I have clearly, I have clearly still not learned the greatest lessons that sarcasm is wasted on him. 2 p.m. I think this is what I've seen. Okay, that most of the people, right? I wouldn't say the obvious sarcasm, right? That most of the people they get the obvious sarcasm, but some people, the common people, I would say, the common people, right? They don't get the basic sarcasm. I mean, the middle or the high level sarcasm. They think that okay, they're just talking, and they're being real. 2 p.m. Taking a break from my work, I step out for a quick lunch with my cousins. Between morsels of palak paneer, I ask her if she has heard that a relative of ours has sprained his ankle by tripping over a pothole. She says, I did, and I told him that he would leave Mumbai and move to Madhya Pradesh. After all, their CM once claimed that the roads in MPs are better than the ones in the US. I laugh. Some people cover their tracks, while others, I guess, have to cover their potholes. Covering tracks reminds me, she says, do you remember when the government wanted to pass an ordinance that lets public servant hide their crime and bribes? And then obviously realizing that I'm zoning out, she says, Acha, forget all this and listen to what I got as a forward this morning. What advice did the ghost give his politician son? Beta never become transparent like me. What advice did the ghost give his politician son? Beta never become transparent like me. I can't find pumpkin cutouts I had placed in the storerooms. I ask my helper, and she immediately blames Desi Jeeves, saying he's misplaced everything. This is a change from when she had first joined us. I had noticed that Desi Jeeves had become rather friendly with her. I would spot her giggling at his remark as they went around their daily chores. And one afternoon, I came home unexpectedly, and the kitchen door was locked. I huffed and puffed and threatened to blow the door down, but it was a good 5 minutes before the door finally swung open. Desi Jeeves was standing by the fridge, and my young and married helper was leaning against the sink a few feet away. She instantly claimed that the door was jammed and that she was merely washing a glass. Perhaps she was practicing a unique method of water conservation because the sink was bone dry. Not one to spoil a happy romance or marriage being her problem and none of my business. I made my cup of coffee and turned to leave when she blurted out, don't mistake Didi, I have made him my brother. Okay. I have made him my brother. A month later, my heartbroken man, Friday, who had been her bhaiya in the living room and I assume Saiya in the kitchen, had to part with both his paramour and two dairy milks while pretending to be thrilled at the prospect. Halloween is not the only celebrations where you scare people. Sometimes Raksha Bandhan can also be equally effective. In my eternal quest to lose weight, I have now stopped using the stationary bike parked on the first floor balcony as a clothes drying stand and have started using it for its real purposes. It's an allegory of life itself. As I frantically pedal, give it all my sweat, determination, hard work, and still don't move forward an inch. Desi Jeeves calls to me from the garden below. Didi, there's a parcel for you. The man is saying you have to come and sign it for it. I called out, you just sign it for me, please. Who is it from? And promptly he says, Amma Jan. Really, I ask as the name doesn't ring a bell. Does it ring a bell? And he says, "Huh, Didi, it is written on the box. My brain going in circle faster than my legs." My brain going in circle are faster than my legs. I mentally go through my contacts trying to find anyone who would fit the bill, having once received a parcel filled with the chopped hair as a declarations of deep love for the man of the house. I'm cautious about accepting parcel from unknown people. I call out, open it near the gate itself and tell me what's inside the box. A minute later, he says, Didi, there is all Jadoo Tona things inside. Horrified, I get off my cycle and rush down to the gate. I gingerly, peeped inside the box, and there I see it, a foam-filled skull decoration, and not from my Amazon, but from Amazon. Oh, he said Amazon. Okay, I'm Amazon. Good grief. Miss Smarty Pens is helping me hang up our decorations, little pumpkin lanterns from the trees and strings of the felt bats over the windows. I try to get into the Halloween mood by regaling her with my very own ghostly or ghastly, whichever way you want to pronounce it, joke. Listen to this. Why? Okay, just wait. Okay, I want to see what is ghastly. Ghastly. Ghastly.
Ghastly.
Extremely unpleasant or bad. A ghastly accident. A ghastly. Why did the vampire choose Amitabh Bachchan? Because he was allergic to all blood groups except AB. Why did the vampire not chase Abhishek Bachchan instead? Because our vampire is a connoisseur and AB, like fine wine, gets better with the age. I think I really have a flair for this. My younger one, a rubber spider in her hand, protests, Mom, no, you don't. Baya is right, your jokes are the worst. For most people, Count Dracula may only show up once a year on Halloween. But I'm infinitely luckier as I have both my Desi Jeeves and Miss Smarty Pants sucking my blood all year long. Dracula, I think I've heard of it. Dracula, Dracula is an iconic 1897 Gothic horror novel by the Irish author Bram Stoker, introducing the famous vampire Count Dracula who moves from Transylvania into England to spread the undead curse. Told through the letters and journals, it features characters like Abraham Van Helsing and Jonathan Harker. The character was inspired by the brutal 15th century Romanian Prince Vlad II, known as the Vlad the Impaler. So this is called a Dracula. 50 Shades of Bigotry. Every summer, I pack a large suitcase for my small family and we head off on a much anticipated holiday. Every summer, okay? We usually end up on a beach somewhere, sand in our costumes, salt in our hair from the hazy blue sea, sunlight trapped in our skin. The grey monotone of a city life is replaced by a palette of primary colors. This year, I have the rare luxury of having the house all to myself as the family go on ahead through their holidays while I stay back to finish some writing. When it is time for me to join them, the man of the house informs me that certain things essential to his well-being have been left behind and I must bring them along. A day later, I find myself standing before a custom officer as he stares at the content of my suitcase. Why did you have a thick wooden log in your bag? I hastily explained it's not a log, sir, it's a mudgull. Okay, I don't know what is it. Just wait, okay, let me see. MUDG, a mudgull. Okay. It's basically a gym equipment of the old people, especially the Punjabi people, right? When they do sumo wrestling, they do wrestling. Okay, this is what they in a mudgull. And at what he asked, and it's an ancient Indian way of weight trainings. To you sort of hold it up in the air and whirl it around your head. So all I wanted to do at this point is knock the man of the house on the head with it. And why can't he, like most other movie stars, just go to the gym, take steroids and grunt over a chest press machine instead of trying to recreate a Mahabharata style
Akara is beyond my comprehensions, but the angst is forgotten as I reach the sleepy and serene islands. After months of being chained to my desk, physically present, though mentally far away, I leave the world of words behind. They re-enter the real world. I want to dance with my family, play board games, and talk to them again. Guilt is interfering. Guilt is the interfering, strident boa whispering inside every working mother's head, and I'm determined to make up for the lost time. I end each night by reading to Miss Smarty Pants. I've never read for her read her fairy tales, though these are dangerous stories. There is always a beautiful and helpless prince waiting for a prince to rescue her. If that is not bad enough, there are characters like Cinderella who need Mac makeovers and shoes by Jimmy Coo to be perfectly happy. But my pet peeve is the mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of all fairest of us fairest of us all, Snow White. While I may refuse to hand this poisoned apple to my children, there are many other places where they will pick up on those subversive notions and cartoon from friends and even from families who compare skin tones of siblings or child and parents. This internalized bias based on color has led to a lot of unhappiness and an empire of skin lightening products worth for $50 million in India. The following afternoon, I realized that I managed to bring all of them, bring all of the man of the house cumbersome items, but have forgotten my shorts by her, and I head for a little store on the island to try on few pairs. There is a long-legged woman around my age in the adjoining changing rooms, and soon we began to to take in each other's opinion on the stuff we are trying on. So when I changed back into my own clothes, my fellow shoppers with a strong British accent asking me where I got my dress. Cape Town, I reply, and she smiles. Oh, I'm originally from Cape Town. So we start talking about our favorite restaurants and South African wines. Then she comes close to my ears and whispers, "Isn't it awful what is happening here?" Yes, I nod. The water crisis. She says, "No, I mean the way the blacks at the hospital are refusing to treat the poor white people." Yeah. So this is what I've seen. There's a reverse racism in South Africa. So apparently the white people are being because they are less in population, so they're marginalized, and there's a reverse racism. See, so no, I mean the way the black at the hospital are refusing to treat the poor white people. They should be grateful that they even have hospitals after all, it's only because of us. I instantly realized two things. One, that despite our recent camaraderie, we have absolutely nothing in common. And the two, she has only shared this with me because she thinks like her and almost everyone on this island. I'm white, us against them. Color, a welcoming handshake at the entrance of bigotry. On our last day on the island, cramped in the back of the car, I'm rubbing sunblock on Miss Smarty Pants. She just she takes just a smidgen and then pointing at her significantly paler brother who is now of 50 shades of painful red. She claims, "I don't need as much sunblock as him. My brown skin is stronger." I recall a time when she was younger and came to me saying she didn't want to take swimming lessons because she didn't like getting dark in the sun. I want to be the same color as Bhaiya, a chance remark by a foolish relative without her earshot. She is so cute, but not as fair as her brother now, had not gone unnoticed, and this led to me many questions within our home about color. With me telling her I want to be orange, the color of her favorite carrots, and she laughing and wanting to be orange as well. I asked her why brown is stronger, and she replies rather proudly, "White is a light color, so it gets dirty fast like my t-shirts. Brown is darker, so it doesn't." In her simple is a very simple explanation. "Okay, Missy," I say, "I'm giving you 10 on 10 for your analogy, but unfortunately you can't get out of using sunblock. You need it as much as him. I'm far from the perfect mother. I cannot pick her up from school every day, and I spend too much time at my desk or gardener, sometimes even on my nails, but somehow I manage, if not to keep all the balls in the air, then to at least pick up drop ones fast enough. In a world of fairness, creams, racisms, and pale skin dolls and poison filled fairy tales, my 12-year-old is turning out to be a little girl who is perfectly comfortable in her skin. Witches were once princes who got tired of their knight in shining armor falling off their high horses once too often and finally decides to take matter into their own hands. Learning to love doggy style. Okay, so I mean, what I've seen is that her most of the title or even the sentence, right? It's very, very, very sus, which has multiple meanings, and that the other meaning, right? It's not even the multiple meaning, right? And that the other meaning, which is not a normal one, which is quite dark. So learning to love doggy style. I mean, most of the people who are listening to this might or might not know about the doggy style, but apparently it's a sex position. And if you have read Kama Sutra properly, then you would know Learning to love doggy style. We live in a different tenses. My dog and I, Cleo, bounce around in the only one she knows, the present, while I meander in the past as we circle endlessly around the garden. The earth and her satellite tweeting a patch of grass is the center of the solar system. They are dogs who have been trained to do all sorts of tricks, like the infamous Speedy, who once took over the Rahul Gandhi X handle, declaring that he was the mastermind who tweeted for him. In the accompanying video, the super dog was seen doing namaste and balancing a biscuit on the nails. This was not a dog that ate the master's homework, but instead did the homework for him. Cleo doesn't believe in playing jester. To raise her paw for a delicate handshake is beneath her. Instead, she has trained me to play fetch. I throw a ball, she grabs it and then chews on it, waiting for me to walk over and pick it up. A decade has passed in much the same way, throwing balls, setting out ball of fruits, occasionally dropping fleas into a kerosene-filled steel cup. With when she brings along blood-sucking playmates, may repel some people, but for me, they bring along a wave of nostalgia. My memories leached of colors like the photographs I've left of that period consist of sitting on the flight of stairs, my grandmother oiling my hair while my hands are busy picking out fleas from the fury furry creature lying my feet. Cleo's predecessor, Caesar, like his human counterparts, was a legend, albeit only in my household. On a stormy day, a cousin was lazing in a hammock. Caesar barked repeatedly and began grappling the macrame knots with his teeth. Fed up, this little boy scurried off a moment before a coconut tree collapsed on the hammock. Regardless of whether Caesar could sense a threat, okay, learning how to sense a threat, or he just didn't like the pesky kids. Dogs in our household have been treated with a reverence ever since. Cleo, in comparison, has not achieved any notable feats. Aside from being named in a complaint for trying to bite a trespassing noisy neighbor, at which point I was almost tempted to file a counter case against the neighbor for violating my dog's olfactory space by regularly stinking of Methitheplas. Despite Cleo's lack of accomplishment, I feel a deep affection for her, a rare sense of contentment when I pat her on the head or brush her fur. This is not an unrequited emotion. According to scientists, researchers at Azabu University study the role of the oxytocin, the hormone responsible for bonding between the humans. Man, okay, this one, just wait, okay. Oxytocin hormone. So hormone, I think there's mainly dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. I think oxytocin, is it the stress hormone? What is the stress hormone? Okay, stress hormone is called, I think it's oxytocin, right? Cortisol. Okay, yeah, it's not oxytocin, it's cortisol. Well recognized as the primary stress hormone. Okay, how many hormones are there? I think few. How many H hormones are there in human body? So there are over 50 distinct hormones divided by the human body, with more still being discovered. This chemical messenger, this one's okay. So what are the most common key functions? What are the 7 types of hormone? Equals to dopamine, growth hormone, releasing hormones, oxytocin. Your hypothalamus makes oxytocin, but your pituitary gland stores and releases it. What are the 4 types of hormone? Female hormones, okay, estrogen, progesterone, okay. So different types of hormones, okay. And immediate her. Regardless of whether Caesar could sense a threat or he just didn't like pesky kids, okay. Researchers at Azabu University study the role of oxytocin, the hormone responsible for bonding between humans, especially between mothers and babies. When asked to gaze into each other's eyes, dogs experienced a 130% rise in oxytocin levels and owners a 300% increase. We can still use objective reasoning over why our companion love us. Humans do provide food, shelters, and protection, but it doesn't explain why we are so attached to our pets as well. Not we, just talk about some of your people, because I've seen a lot of people who don't like pets, and yeah, including me. I wouldn't say I hate them, but nah, I don't like them. Uh, I do consider myself as a person who is too focused on hygienic. So if you have a pet, then it's very difficult. Perhaps it is as simple as what the fox tells the little princess in the eponymous book: I have no need of you, and you, on your part, have no need of me. To you, I am nothing more than a fox like 100,000 other foxes. But if you tame me, then we shall need each other. To me, you will be unique in all the worlds. To you, I shall be unique in all the worlds. We take another round, and I throw her a withered coconut. She chased it and clamping it between her jaws. She lies down on the grass, while Cleo has clearly not learned any tricks from me. I learned many just by watching her, seeing her bound up to the people she loves. I am trying to let my guard down. There is an openness in our pets that we deny ourselves with walls and defense mechanism. A dog will see you jump up and wag his tail, so in a slow burn all over your face. He doesn't stop to think, but does this person really like you? Will I be taken advantage of if I show him an abundance of affections? What do you mean by what kind of an advantage? Twinkle, what kind of an advantage are you talking about? I'm sorry, not Twinkle. Mrs. Twinkle, or Mrs. Khanna, or Mrs. Miss, okay, yeah, or Madam. And spot her now flipping over onto her back, her belly facing the sky, living in the moment as prescribed by ancient religious tenets and new age gurus. I want to emulate her, use only my eyes, nose, and ears while abandoning the reasoning brain. Lie flat on the grass without worrying about dirt, time, and proprietary, till a buoyant bubbles of joy fill up all my crevices and cavities and burst from in my chest. I call out her name, and she dashes towards me with a crow's carcass in her mouth instead of a coconut. I hold up her face, wanting to reprimand her, but as I look into her eyes, the color of the molasses and roasted cacao, I feel a certain surge of emotions. It becomes clearer the reason why we unzip secret compartments of our hearts in order to carefully tuck those creatures inside. It is the way our dog look at us. It doesn't matter if we are adolescents or grandmothers, comely or plain, hilarious or terrible both. Their gaze is a place without judgments. Dog with their paws, tails, and snots reminds us that we are never more human than we are. Like them, love unconditionals. I pat her on the head and we continue taking our circles, a pair of two-legged and four-legged creatures who have managed to tame each other's. Happiness is an accident, not a pursuit. It only collides against you when you're looking the other way. Happiness is an accident. Let me think about it. Happiness is an accident. I don't think so. Happiness is an accident, not a pursuit. Pursuit. It only collides against you when you're looking the other way. Number 10. Adult friendships are so hard, yaar. Pinky swear. Week 1, it's my second day at university, okay? I am sitting alone at my desk eating leftover orange peel. The astringent tangs with its stubborn strands of pith feels like a perfect metaphor for my mental state after waiting in a vain for one of my classmates, even the one with the toothpaste all over his scarf. Okay, his scarf to suggest lunch during the break. Just wait, adult friendships are so hard, yaar. Is it? Okay, I don't know. Just wait, let me read it again. Week 1, it's my second day at the university, and I'm sitting alone at my desk eating leftover orange peel. There's a stringent stang with its stubborn strands of pith, feeling like a perfect metaphor for my mental state after waiting in a vain for my classmates. Okay, and I decided to return to university for my master's in writing, a move that meant relocating to London, finding a school for my younger ones, and a home for all of us. I was prepared for logistical headache. What no one warned me about was how hard it would be to make a difference as an adult. Needing guidance, I called my mother from the empty classrooms. Mom, did I make friends easily in school? I asked. She sighed. Well, you used to beat them into becoming friends with you. I remember you broke that boy's teeth. Luckily, they were, milk teeth. So, he didn't need fake ones. Remember Kabir? He was Farhan Akhtar's cousin. Then you beat Farhan Toast, and that time you went around threatening, Amjad Khan's sons until he became your friends. Then he used to get you a thumbs up 500 every day to share. At nearly 50, I can't very well go around punching 25 years old, olds into friendships. Clearly, a new tactic is required, preferably one that doesn't involve dental work. Week 2, our dining table has been turned into a giant desk. The prodigal son, Miss Smarty Pants, and I each have claimed a spot where we sit together and do our respective homework every evening, while my older one has been UK in for a few years now and has somehow acquired a large circle of friends who presumably have a poor judgment. I'm worried about my younger one. Uprooting her from Mumbai to London was not an easy decision. I know, she has been homesick, missing her dog, her dad, and my extended family. But not exactly in that order. I asked her about her new school, and with wide grin, she says, I spend all my breaks playing tag. I'm then informed that tag is a great game, especially when you have a gassy stomach, as you can run far and fart. And then she had received this information from one of her new friends. When it comes to friendship, children seems to boisterously dive in and splash away, but we hold on to the pool ladder, submerging ourselves one step at a time while constantly checking temperatures. The week 3, the professor had gone on strike because of the budget cuts. Okay, I'm secretly relieved as I dreaded having lunch alone in a class once again. After making a head start on some of my course readings, which amounts to an average of about 2 books a week, I decided that I might have to have to research some proven strategist if I wanted to be on the winning sides of the friendship games. I soon come across a book on friendship by Marisa Franco, who suggested that people must actively pursue friends. While I had been staying away from making the friends first move because it made me feel like a beetle trying to clamber onto the back of the varied victim. So this information puts me into the action. That afternoon, I began by chatting with my Irish neighbors while collecting a mail from the foyer table. Finn is an elderly man with hair sticking out of his head like a crow, with Maggie feathers, and like me, freshly unleashed upon London storm. Oh, you're from India, he says. I have also recently moved from Dublin, and you know what? During this period, Boris Johnson got toppled and the Queen died, and now my old friends are asking what I will do to King Charles next. Amused by his joke about the uneasiness between the British and the Irish, I suggest the adult, sedentary version of the tag, coffee. Week 5, the strike has been called off. Back in the classroom, I try to make eye contact and smile tentatively at my classmates, but aside from the bespectacled man next to me telling me I have a piece of spinach in my teeth, no one responds. Then the professor asks us to do a critical analysis and make a presentation on a few books. Graham's Green's The End of the Affair is on the list, and I immediately put my hand up. 3 other women have raised their hands as well. We are asked to form a group and do a joint presentation. That afternoon, one of the girls suggests that we spend our lunch break at a cafe opposite the campus and go over how we want to divide our project. So that is what I don't like at all, man. So even in a college, what I used to do is that if there's any project, right, business project or any of that thing, either I'll do everything. I just text them, right? Okay, and most of them in a college, most of them are not very interested in any of those kind of a project. So I used to text everyone in the group that we have 2 options. Either I will make the entire projects alone, or you guys do it. I'll not do it because I'm not a group person, man. If it's a group person, then it's very difficult for me because I don't want to. I don't like wasting my time. Because if you're doing a group project, then I mean, you will waste a lot of your time. And at a cafe opposite the campus and go on how we want to divide our projects. Our bad dim sums and suspicion looking porn undone. We first talk about our professor and then our lives. Week 6, Finn is over for another cup of coffee when our neighbor in the flat above makes a ruckus loud enough for us to peer out from a doorway. Finn asked me, "Do you know who that is?" He was engaged to a famous actress. He was in the Princess Brides movie. He pulled off a big scam and went to prison for a few years. Finn, let's go meet him. I say, who knows, I could get an interview or even a great short story out of it. We devise methods of engineering and encounters with the former criminal till Finn confessed. This reminds me of what I helped a journalist with information about some Russian running a visa scam. He got a great story. They did cut off his little finger, but I suppose it was worth it. While my pinky is rather useless appendage, I have become fond of it over the years, so I tell him I'm having a second thoughts about undertaking this particular mission. That evening, I take the initiative and form a WhatsApp group with my 3 classmates. We try out names for the group, and after shooting down a suggestion by the youngest members, who appears to be smitten with our 70-year-old Dustin Hoffman look-alike professors and instructor on christening our group Blake's Bitches, we come up with the more seated scribes in the city. We have left the key to our apartment inside. I am standing on the pavements, debating whether to call a locksmith, when the prodigal son suggested climbing in through the back window. Apparently, along with forgetting to bring the case, he also forgotten to lock the windows. He hoists Miss Smarty Pants on his shoulder, and she scrambles onto the windowsill. I try to ignore the curious look from the passerbys as she shoves the window up with all her might, slips us inside, and immediately triggers a chorus of screeching alarm. In our enthusiasm for breaking into our own homes, we neglected to disarm the system from our app. Finn comes running out and is reassured that the only burglars on the block are already in a conversation with him. Once Miss Smarty Pants graciously unlocked the door, I invite him, and we drift into a discussion of his true obsession, the royal family. It began with an old tabloid relic, a curious bedtime conversation between Camilla Parker Bowles and Prince Charles, during which His Royal Highness professed a desire to live inside her trousers and be reborn as her What? To live inside her trousers and reborn as her tampon? Really? It begins with an old tabloid relic, a curious bedtime conversation between Camilla Parker Bowles and Prince Charles. I'm not exactly sure the current one or the previous one, during which His Royal professed her desire to live inside her trousers and be reborn as her tampon. The prodigal son is lurking about. I tell him to finish his overdue assignments. He replies, "You keep telling me to be ambitious and work hard, but look at Charles. His ambition was just to be a tampon, and now he's a king." Finn, delighted by the prodigal son's joke, informs me that our nefarious upstairs neighbor is currently in and suggests we grab a bottle of wine to make our introductions. I decline, explaining I've guessed coming over. Though truthfully, I'd rather have a finger hanging off my palm than in every pie. After Finn leaves, I start tidying for my afternoon teas with a scribe in the city. We usually meet for lunch at uni, but sometimes defect to the pub or each other's homes. At 50, I can hardly believe I've got a college gangs of like-minded women I can badger about citation rules while chewing cafeteria sandwich. Today, the girls are in raw quas moods, swapping gossips within the bites of the scones. One story involves a classmate who lives on houseboats and appear to be a stone in every seminar. Another concerns a poet who is convinced she is Goldsmith, sleevey, like minus my talents, but with the tragic wardrobes. That evening, as I cleared up, I realized that by making the first move, I'm not riding on anyone's back, but I've read myself of the weight of minds, the fear of rejection in the past few weeks. I've befriended my younger one's school moms, chatted with neighbors, and turned acquaintances into friends and built a small support system. It doesn't replace my family and friends back home, but it keeps me in a good spirit. I've also found that not taking rejection personally helps, as does planning a repetitive activity, join a book club, or even a cult with weekly meetings if you're partial to white bed sheets with the eye holes, as long as it offers multiple chances for engagement. Having the same courses means I see my unique groups regularly with others. I fix weekly walks in the park or trips to see new exhibition. After that few months, I had to concede that making friends as an adult is similar to being asked to play Scrabble with only consonants. You have to make an effort till you get into the rhythm, which is a vowel-free word in case you do not need to play this virgins. After all, there is no point in having a stand-up act with the best line in town if you have a row of empty seats facing you. Evolution has programmed us to be afraid. Really, I don't know that. Evolution has programmed us to be afraid of the dark, stranger, change, and even love. We open doors to our heart because we are compelled, but not completely. We hold it ajar, unable to step out. Hinges, crust with the past scraps. The door needs a firm push. We wait. The sun sets without us revealing, in its plight. Push the door. Ignore the screeching hinges. Love with all your hearts. Love generously, fearlessly, in dollops and not drips. But and I do agree with the fact that evolution has made us afraid of the new or the strangers or this thing. So that's why. But I think I can see it's changing, right? People, and I can see it is changing. Saturday night fever and the game of staying alive. 9:30. Okay, just wait. Night fever. Saturday night fever. Apparently today it's a Saturday. Saturday night fever and the game of staying alive. 9:30 a.m. I want to sit by the window with my coffee and I continue staring at a boat cutting across the still oceans with a plumage of shimmering ripples and scavenging birds. But I have an urgent to-do list. It starts with managing my portfolio, which thanks to Trump's tariff is making me see red. Figuratively, and on the trading app, I message my accountant, and while waiting for her to reply, I start jotting down a weekly menu for the family I can't cook, nor do I have an avid interest in food besides soya, chaklis. Yet, this menu, okay, Saturday night fever, and okay, this menu planning is by default my department until I die, or if I am lucky, get dementia and can't recall anyone's favorite dishes. My phone pings. It's not my accountant, but the kind of a folks at Mintra informing me that I can avail of their 46% Happy Women's Day discount on a pack seamless tummy and a thigh shaper. While there is a merit in acknowledging the progress women have made by having a dedicated day to celebrate our wins, sometimes it does feel like a relay race. Every generation passes the pattern forwards, only to find next leg of the race is also uphill. We are dressed in shaping underwears and still out toast and are still underpaid. 1 p.m. at lunch with my sister, I declined dessert. I don't want Saturday night me shortchanging the Sunday morning me. I tell her, okay, just with what? At lunch with my sister, I decline dessert. I don't want Saturday night me shortchanging the summer morning me. Okay, I tell her. She frowns. Okay, are you stoned? What the hell does that even mean? We indulge in our Saturday night versions by which I mean our present selves and leave our future or Sunday morning version to clean up the mess. Yeah, this is exactly what I thought. And I think she said like tomorrow morning, Sunday, I don't want to run. And when do you run? Because if you eat something tonight, then obviously you have to run tomorrow. So she's like, I don't want to eat because I don't want to run. We indulge our Saturday night's version, by which I mean our present selves, and leave our future on Sunday morning version to clean up the mess. I reply, one drinks, the other suffers. Okay, one drinks, the other suffers. One binges, the other repents. When she looks puzzled, I tell her about the substance, the Demi Moore horror movie that changed my perspective. A washed-up aging actress injects herself with a green serum that spawns a younger, better version of herself. They are supposed to, time share. They exist in the 70s in each body. Remember, you are one. The serum dealer wants them, but the younger one keeps overstaying, partying, and training the other older body, which rapidly decays. The film is about aging and the societal pressures on women's bodies and self-worth. Absolute horror for me was seeing the two bodies are side by side and the immediate effects of what we do at our future selves daily, the extra drinks, the midnight cakes, the just one more episode binge. Whenever temptation strikes, I tell myself that the Saturday night me and the morning me are one. Whenever temptation strikes, I tell myself that the Saturday night me and the Sunday morning me are one. It stops me in my tracks. Can I tell you the truth? My sister says every version of you, including the Friday afternoon one, is a big bore. 3 p.m. On the way back to the office, Instagram pops up an old video of Trump and Zelensky's showdown. Okay, the Ukrainian president had found himself in an uncomfortable situation at the White House where he was grilled on his lack of suit, talked about to, talked down to like a preschooler and expected to show the same level of gratitude that Trump saves for his beloved hairspray that fittingly is called the CHI helmet hair. As women, we are often in rooms with the uneven power dynamics. If Zelensky had asked for advice, I would have told him the first rule of the survival in a lopsided negotiation: always state your case like you are the threading on needles, steady and careful, trying not to prick your finger in the process. I think, yeah, in there, the mistake, that uh, Zelensky made was he was. I think it all started when the vice president JD Vance asked about the fact that he was supporting the election uh, to the Democrats when the Trump was also running, and this led to the security crisis and all those things. And then Zelensky asked or tells that please you guys don't have any concern about the security because you are far away from the Atlantic Ocean, far away from all the gusts, because your entire country, but both the sides are covered by the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. So it's easy for you to tell all of those things. But when the Russia comes to the entire West Europe, then you will find it difficult. So this is what Zelensky said, which Trump gets a little irritated. So he just gives him back that please don't tell what we will feel, please don't tell what we will feel. And then the entire thing is because okay, you have to thank me, you have all this. Okay, so it started, and then this was it was a showdown. It was a showdown. Yeah. 6 p.m. I coax Miss Smarty Pants into playing football at a neighboring compound. She returns earlier than expected, saying that the older kids were cheating. I try explaining that sometimes things may not be to our liking, but the game goes on, and so do we. When she continues to whining, I threaten to ground her. I will ground you instead, she says, and orders me to go and stand on her ground stoop. Trying to lighten the mood, I climb up and say, it's cool because I'm used to being on a pedestal. She replies, if you want to be on a high pedestal, then just climb up your ego. Her sarcastic retort both dismays and amaze me. Unlike in the movies, I suppose you don't need to inject a green serum into your veins to spawn a younger, better version of yourself. 9 p.m., I scroll through the photo library on my phone and see pictures from my recent trip to Kolkata. Some are taken at Kumartuli, where artisans craft stunning idols for Durga Puja. It's a fascinating process that starts with the wood and straw skeletons before adding layers of clay. The guide who took me to see the artisans at work said that traditionally women were restricted from the practicing this craft. An irony that women, despite being the embodiments of the goddess Durga, are now fighting for their place in the crafting her image. I suppose lives in our scales have always been rigged. A fortunate few gets to choose how we live. Others have to choose what they can live with. Whether you are a president fighting for your country's survival, a kid on a playground, or a woman looking at equality that lasts beyond the perfunctory celebration, this holds true. We don't have control over the outcome of any of these games beside the one we play with ourselves daily. A tug of war between our present and future selves, between impulses and restraints, indulgence and wisdom. Well, unless you are an anomaly. Oh my god, unless you are an anomaly like Donald Trump's, to Saturday night's avatar reveals in junk food, lawsuits, temper in a tantrums, and yet his Sunday morning versions, defying Newton's third law of motion that for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction, pats him on his head and even fixes his hair in the place as he keeps stomping on. Heels are empowering only if you mistake altitude for attitude. Okay, this is a good line. Heels The sandals, the heels, right? The heels are empowering only if you mistake altitude for attitude. If heels were the truly powerful, then wouldn't men be wearing them as well? Jeff Bezos on the cover of Time magazines in Jimmy Chop Peeps stores. Elon Musk driving his Tesla in Versace Lotus. Putin posing in a bare chest with a hunting gun and Manol Spikes Hill. Content number 12. It's chipped teacup. Chipped. I mean, I think chipped means a slightly broken. Chipped. Chipped described an object with a small piece broken off. Yeah. Chipped. Chipped cup, right? Okay, so the cup is chipped. So this is how you have to use it. Use it in a sentence. The cup is chipped. Chipped cup, right? Okay, it's a chipped cup. It's a chipped cup. Chipped describe an object with a small piece broken off, that is a chipped plate or a chipped tooth. It also refers to a surface with a flaking material or living creatures like a dog fitted with an electric microchip. Okay, understood. Okay, understood. So, chipped teacup. My friends lost their son. When I heard about it, I felt like I had caught my hand in a door. Oh shit, my friends lost their son. When I heard about it, I felt like I had caught my hands in a door. An unexpected wrenching pain that dulled after a while but left me, aching and bruised. A teenager with his father's smile, one that didn't curve at the end but lit up his face in a broad horizontal lines, an incipient mustache watch over that distinctive grin and indicators of a boy about to turn into a man. Death sometimes knock at the door till it is open, and at other times it slips in unannounced. When my grandmother, who had a large hand in raising me, passed away, sorrow felt like a needle of a sewing machine, piercing through and lifting rhythmically. Forgotten for a few moments, it would slam down again, the salty Mumbai air suddenly heavy in my lungs as if it were liquid going down the wrong pipe. Yet there was a comfort in knowing she had lived a full life. But even that, me agree, solace is absent when it's the demise of a child. It is the materialization of every mother's greatest fear, one that we live with from the time we are aware of another heart beating inside us. I recall an Emily Dickinson's poem that has stayed with me over the years. I measure every grief I met. I measure every grief. I measure every grief I meet with narrow, probing eyes. I wonder if it weighs like mine or has an easier size. Okay, why do I feel like I know this girl, Emily Dickinson. Just let me. Emily Dickinson. It's an American poet. Emily, Dickinson is an American poet. Hope is the thing. Okay, hope is the thing with a feather. Selected poems, the gorgeous nothing, because I could not stop for that. Poetry for kids, Emily Dickinson's. Emily Elizabeth Dickinson was an American poet, largely unpublished and unknown during her lifetime. Her work is now widely regarded as canonical. The Poetry Foundation described her as having created, in her writing, a distinctive, epileptical language for expressing what is possible but not yet realized. She died at the age of 55. What was Emily Dickinson famous for? With Walt Whitman, Dickinson is widely considered to be one of the two leading 19th century poets, American poets. Only 10 of Emily Dickinson, nearly 1800 poems are known to have been published in her lifetime. Oh my god, 1800 poems. Is Taylor Swift related to Dickinson? Okay, just wait. Swift's ancestor apparently remained in Connecticut for 6 generations. Her part of the family eventually settled in northwestern Pennsylvania, where they married into the Swift family line. Dickinson and Swift are 6 cousins, 3 times removed. Okay, so how do I say I love you in a poetic way? It's Dickens eligibility show. Okay, I love you to the ends of the earth and the depth of this universe. Okay, I don't have time to read the poem, but yeah. Is there a more difficult version of grief to carry than the death of a child? That unfulfilled promise and a lifetime of memories that should have been his right, but a loss not bent to our will like the love that preceded it arrived unannounced to love ourselves. To love itself is to accept the inevitability of separations, one way or another, and yet we are always unprepared. After I speak to the parents, I make a cup of tea, a familiar ritual of comfort, the ceramic cup, clinking against another as it pulled out, the kettle pretending to be a deaf man whistling an unfamiliar tune, the trickle of water into the cup, a chip the size of a molar, once I had not noticed before, the tea bag gliding in, for a moment it floats, then rounds, sinking to the bottom. Submerged, it waits. I wait. At first, it is imperceptible. The leaking of color strongest at the center. The smell, the herbaceous mint and molasses riding on the rising stream. The tea bag loses form and functions. A paper husk finished, fished out, discarded. I wonder if the tea bag stacked with another looked at this cardboard box with a twinning tea embezzled in capital was that it word as its world or waiting rooms. When it slid into the cup, was it afraid of letting its essence disappear, or did it know that it was not dissipating, only changing form from a tea bag in a cup of tea? It is for the fourth day, a time when heartbroken families offered prayers. I watch a slideshow of pictures of the young boy with his brother, laughing with friends, sitting on his mother's lap. I write to her. But what comfort can you give someone who must forget her dreams, erase the line of stars she had once, seen strung up through her little once iced? I make another cup of tea and I sit by the window, grieving for the beautiful boy with his father's smile and for a loss that could just as easily have been mine. Age is a mathematical problem. Age is a mathematical problem. It is not a division. It is not a division. Some, though, where we are reduced to a fraction of what we once were. It is one of the multiplications. At 40, you are still the pig-tailed girl who once climbed trees and beat up all the boys, the young woman with the disdain for convention, the new mother with the leaky breast and fierce ambition. You don't have one heartbreak, one breakdown, one true love, one success. You have a mountain of them. Yet we look at our crinkled eyes, creaking knees, and the loosening of our skin as it detached from muscles with a despair. Instead, we should perhaps learn to honor our line and pulse, our aches and pains, the equivalent of a general medal pinned to our skin, a reminder of all the battles we have survived and the ones we have won. Okay. "13. From foie gras to beja fry." Okay, I don't know what. Okay, foie gras. Just wait. Foe foie gras foie gras. It's a food. Okay, just wait. Foie gras is a specialty food product made up of the liver of a duck or a goose. According to French law, foie gras is defined as the liver of a duck or a goose, fattened by a cabbage. Okay, I don't know, man. It does look like something weird. Okay, it looks like a. Is it a meat? Why is foie gras banned in India? Why is because foie gras unhealthy to eat? India took one of the strongest position in 2014 when the government imposed a nationwide ban on foie gras import. The decision followed a review of animal welfare concerns related to the force feeding and made India the first country to formally close its borders to the product. Yeah, what is it? Foie gras.
Foie gras.
Okay, it's a French one, so it's not a foie gras. Okay, it's a foie gras.
Foie gras.
Foie gras. Foie gras, French for fat liver. Okay. Foie gras is a luxurious French delicacy made from the typically fattened liver of a duck or a goose. Renowned for its rich, buttery taste, it is often served as a foie gras. That's a foie gras, smooth paste. This one's a foie gras. Okay, so it's a foie gras.
Foie gras.
Okay, foie gras. From foie gras to beja fry. 9 a.m. Back from a holiday. My mind is refreshed and my stomach is stuffed with the foie gras and French fries. But what I really carved for while in France was a masala dosa, hoping to score one. I go into the kitchen where I see Desi Jeeves hunched up near the refrigerator and ask him, "You went to the doctor yesterday, na? What did he say?" He answers, "Doctor said, may halki diwala hona." Doctor said, "May halki diwala hona." I call the doctor in bewilderment. Bewilderment. It's bewilderment. I don't know, bewilderment or bewilderment. Wait. Bewildr. Bewilderment.
Bewilderment.
Bewilderment. It's not wilderment. It's bewilderment. Stare at somebody is, What is bewilderment mean? It's being confused and puzzled. Okay, bewilderment. It's bewilderment. Okay, so confused. He answers, okay, I call the doctor in bewilderment. Doctor, is this Halke Diwale a medical diagnosis, or are you just blurting out the title of the Karan Johar next blockbuster? Dr. Sai, I just tried to explain to him that he is a faint-hearted fellow, very anxious chap, has been, getting panic attacks. I hung up, turned to Daisy Jeeves and asked him, you were fine before I left, so what's with all this panic attack stuff? No, Didi, I went to Mela and after that I've become like this. Can this be an underhand dig at me for my diabolically disastrous movie Mela, or did he really go to some fair and got spooked? On further questioning I get my answer. Apparently last month on his annual holiday he sat on a giant wheel, and somewhere between 6th and 7th round he changed from a happy-go-lucky individual to this timorous wreck. He continues his story by saying, Didi, jealous people are doing black magic on me. Can I go back to village this week? There is a good Baba. You remember once, he cured me before. Only he can cure me again. I can fight against many things, but in front of superstitious, I can fight against all the odds except people with a superstition or superstitious. I can fight against many things, but in front of superstitions, I promptly accept defeat. So I hastily get him onto the next outbound train. 11:15 a.m. I get a call from my factory supervisors. Madam, I can't come to office. My wife has lost her finger. Puzzled, I ask, lost as in she kept it somewhere and can't fight, or lost as in it fell off in her sleep? No, madam, last night she wanted to put one more load in the washing machine as it is inauspicious to wash clothes on Thursday. So she had to finish it that night itself. She got up in the middle of the night to take the clothes off and put them to dry, and half asleep, she forgot to turn the machine off before putting her hand inside. The machine cut her finger off. Oh shit. Yes, of course, take the day off, I reply. Yes, of course. Yes, of course, take the day off. 6:30 p.m. I am at an old friend's house when her granny drops in for a visit. The old lady unrolls a piece of paper, points at it with her withered finger and tells me, my friend, Payal beta, your horoscope says that you have been having bad luck for the last 6 months and it will continue for the next year. You see, Saturn has entered your 8th house. I try refuting this with the simple logic. Auntie G, Payal doesn't have 8 houses, just this one in Juhu. So if Saturn is entering the 8th house, it is definitely not hers. Granny glares at me and continues. I have a solution. I have asked Kaveri Amma in Chennai and she said that every Saturday for a month, Payal must feed a cow some grass, then all the problem will be solved, beta. My friends reply that she really doesn't have any problems, literally fall on deaf ears because a granny suddenly yelps, Are, this hearing aid has started making beeping sounds. I can't hear anything. Change the battery for me, Payal. Battery all changed and granny says, how many years do I have to have left to live? Can't you just listen to your dadi and make me happy before I die? That's the emotional line. That's when I crave. Even I cave. After Granny leaves the room, Payal turns to me saying, how can I say no to her now? Maybe she is also right also. So for the next few days, Saturdays, you will see me near Mukeshwar temple running behind a cow with a straw. I snort, listen, why don't we update all these rituals and instead of feeding the cow, you start an initiative called Selfie with Cow and post a bunch of pictures. The new age way to thwart bad karma. Stop talking crap, she says. I retort, well, if your granny prophecy of a bad luck has come true, then it will only be because you are doing all these crazy things. You just may get arrested as a suspected beef addict is desperately trying to get her fixed by luring the poor cow. France and Belgium may fight over the origin of the French fry, but only we Indians have invented a delicacy called bheja fry. And at the rate that mine has been tried by the Mumbo Jumbo today, I may well as drive to Muhammad Ali Road and sell it with some power. First, I must call up the man of the house and immediately register this movie title before one of the Khans usurp it and I see it plastered on hoarding all over. No, not Beja Fry, that has already been used as a movie title, but my newfound idiom, May Halki. May Halki Diwala Hona. May Halki Diwala Hona. I'm not exactly sure. But that part, okay, I want to see it. I think there was a problem with the French fry, okay? French fry was invented in which country? I don't think it's France. Okay, so French fries originated in Belgium, not France. According to Belgian lore, village in the Meuse Valley near Namura were frying small fish in the late 1600s, but when the river froze, they cut potatoes into fish like shapes and fried them instead. The term French likely came from American soldiers in World War One, mistakenly associating the fried food with the French-speaking Belgian locals. Belgian theory began as historian and many local believe the French fries were born in the French during this one's okay. So understood. So it's in Belgian and okay. So I want to see does what is the official yeah, okay, Belgium of language. I think they speak French only. Okay, Belgium has three official language: Dutch spoken by 55 to 63 percentage, French 38 to 82 percentage, and often higher it includes second language. In German, the country is linguistically divided. Flanders North speaks Dutch, Flemish speaks French. So they don't have their own. Can I speak English in Belgium? How do they say hello in Belgium? Okay, does Belgium, BELGI, have its own language? I don't think they have their own language. Belgium does not have a one single unique national language. Instead, it has three official: Dutch, French, and German. And obviously, it's not theirs. Okay, so kindly refrain from judging me on the quality of the following words. This is a verbatim accounts of what a friend narrated during my informal survey. Sharing a bowl of poha for breakfast, she was asked, "Should I potty before we ate this or after?" Should I potty before we eat this or after? Unfortunately, the question was not raised by her the question was not raised by her toddler, but her 38-year-old husband. Braver than I am, she immediately called her mother-in-law, handed him the phone, and said, "Ask mummy." So now 14. How to survive marriage without going to jail. How to survive marriage without going to jail. Each Valentine's Day, an avalanche. Okay, it's avalanche or avalanche. Okay, just wait. Okay, avalanche. I want to see the pronunciation. Avalanche. Avalanche.
Avalanche.
Okay, yeah, it's avalanche. It's not avalanche. An avalanche of wild, heart-shaped candy gets passed around. Though what the women who has been imprisoned long enough within the gilded cages of matrimony really earn for his heavy duty replacement husband for some odd reasons after a year or so just stop functioning efficiently. Unlike a refrigerator, they don't even come with any sorts of extended warranty, so you are stuck with this creature who, from sweeping you off for your feet, now grumbles when he has to lift his feet off the coffee table. This notion hit me even harder when the man of the house was sprawled on the sofa. So as we coached our daughter for her karate exams, my account of Ichi ni san was interrupted with the wa achakwa. I first thought my black belt wielding partner had forgotten the basics. San is 3 in Japanese, and not 4. But I discovered that he was surreptitiously watching cricket on his iPad instead. It was then, ladies, that I wanted to punch him on the head, not hard enough to knock him unconscious, in the hope that, like most electronics, a quick switch off and one and on would restore optimum functionalities. But just to give him a headache in return for the one he frequently gave me, I stopped mid-air when I recalled Lana Clayton's case. Clayton was sentenced to 25 years for murdering her husband with drink laced with the eye drop. Her defense was that she didn't mean to kill him but wanted to merely make him uncomfortable. I had my next eureka moment when I spoke to a friend that evening. She had had to watch her husband spend 2 hours playing games on his phone and was thrilled when his phone crashed. Cackling away, she said, "The phone has gone for repairs. God heard my prayers." Wondering why I needed to rely on God when I could try a DIY method, do it yourself methods, try DIY, that's it. For your information, that's all. FYI, that's it. FYI is just for your information, so DIY. Do it yourself. DIY. FYI, FYI, DIY. I got home and secretly changed the man of the house iPad's password. It is difficult to quantify the joy I felt that night, watching him enter his password repeatedly till his device was disabled. I then realized that it was possible to devise methods where we could fight back without fighting at all. Honestly, when you have kids, jobs, in-laws, and pets, you have who has the time to indulge in bickering, sulking, and then all heart-to-heart discussions. First, the haunted house method. His wallet mysteriously moves from his bedside to the bathroom. The car keys go into a drawer in the kitchen. His glasses are under the sofa. To make it even more perfect, the wife goes Baby, either we have poltergeist or you have become forgetful. Should we go to the doctor? Your boy also suffer from early Alzheimer. It could be a genetic thing now. The use it or lose it tactical maneuver. Use his thing liberally, okay, the use his things liberally when he is not around. His shampoo, which is not good enough for your fabulous mane, can be used on your dog. Not and wear his t-shirt and t-shirt to the gym or even gardening. His razor, why have a Brazilian wax when you can leave weary strands in his razor? Revenge is best served cold, and this one ensures that it is served at the hair raising temperatures. I mean, yeah, but I don't know why is it quite said that the revenge is best served cold. Why? Just wait, okay, I'll see why not hot, man. I would say hot. Why revenge is best served cold? Revenge is revenge is revenge is a dish best served cold means that vengeance is most effective and satisfying when delayed, allowing for a careful, calm, and calculated planning rather than immediate impulsive action. Waiting allows emotional. Okay, so revenge is a dish best served cold. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Divert and deflect. When your partner is annoying you by talking about inane things or repeating the same story 3,000 times, refrain from throttling him. No judge will accept. My lord, I just wanted to choke him till he stopped talking, not till he ceased breathing. Instead, ask him random questions so it breaks the loop in his head. Even something as stupid as, is today an odd day or an even one? Men have the attention span of a goldfish. After trying to answer, he would have completely forgotten what he was talking about in the first place. Whips, collars, and commands. Whips, commands, and collars and commands. Okay, though marriage does seem to have involved a fair bit of dominations and submissions. Okay. Though marriage does seem to involve a fair bit of a domination and submissions, it is usually accompanied by vanilla sex. So this isn't a call for some BDSM action. Okay, I want to know the full form. I forgot. Okay, this is bondage. I'm not exactly sure, but the D S is equals to submission and M. I don't know. Just wait. Let me search. BDSM. So it's an acronym for bondage and discipline. Okay, BND. That's a BDSM equals to bondage, discipline, submission, and okay, no, it's not submission. Yeah, bondage. Okay. BND. That's okay. So BDSM equals to bondage and domination. Bondage and discipline, and domination and submissions, and sadism. Okay, sadism and masochism. Okay, I don't know what is masochism. 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 Okay. Masochism. The enjoyment of a pain or what most people would find unpleasant. He swims in the sea even in winter. That's sheer masochism. Okay, masochism. It's not masochism. Okay, masochism. It's a masochism. Sadism, masochism. So what does the BDSM stands for? So I'm closing my eyes and then repeating. B stands for bondage and discipline. D stands for dominance. So bondage, discipline, dominance. BDSS is equals to sadism, and BDSM is equals to masochism. Bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and sadism and masochism. It refers to a wide range of consensual. It's a consensual. Okay, BDSM equals to, it refers to a wide range of consensual sexual practice and interpersonal dynamic involving power exchange, physical restraints, and sensation play. Key principle includes consent, safety, and communication. I think consent is one of the most important thing here. So by vanilla sex, so this isn't a call for some BDSM actions. Watching our dog Freddy's trainers working with him, I noticed that he uses a simple method. He ignores Freddy's tantrums and give him a treat when he displays appropriate behavior. If you are highly motivated, this is nifty method. Ignore him when he asks you to find his socks. To offer a kisses and onion pakoras in that order as a reward for good behavior. At the very least, it's more entertaining than watching him watch yet another cricket match. Okay, it does seem to me that even they watch cricket match. Now comes emulate Mamiji. When the man of the house felt ill, off he would go to Mamiji's house, claiming that her haldi doodh was a miracle cure. When I made the same in the kitchen, my kitchen, he dismissed it as ineffective, swallowing my pride along with all the wild concoctions I had tried. I approached Mamiji. She smiled bitter. I dropped two, crockins in his milk bath, and he becomes fat and fine. This method can be handy even in sticky situation, like a boy's night outs. Instead of nagging him apart, nagging, okay. Instead of nagging him about not going, try something. You work so hard and deserve to have some fun. Let's have a drink together before you head out. Shall I get you a rum and a coke, darling? Out of sheer relief at escaping a battle of wills, he will agree. This is your chance to dose his drink, not with eye drop, but with a big dose of a cough syrup like Benadryl that also causes a drowsiness. Passing out was his plan away. Anyways, you have just ensured that instead of the long route with the multiple drinks and late nights, he takes a shortcut and passes out nice and early. You may wonder if your partner is so annoying that then isn't it better to just find another suitable mate? So according to relationship coaches, being frequently irritated when with your partner is normal. We just don't expect it to be a part of an ideal relationship, as we have grown up on tales of happily ever after. All the stories, though, either stops at the grand wedding or, like Romeo and Juliet, have the protagonists die before they start bickering about the smelly bathrooms. The truth is that even if you could replace his, this pesky partner for another, this of course excludes violence and other deeply toxic behavior. In which case, run as fast as you can. Then it would only be exchanging one set of a problem for another. As human beings are inherently flawed creatures, the only way to survive a long-term relationship is to be pragmatic, accept differences, and follow what Gibran advocated. Let there be a space in your togetherness. Since matrimony is also meant to be about sharing joy and sorrow, there is no real harm done in using the subversive tactics about to give you some joy while causing him sorrow. Let there be space in your togetherness. Yeah. Now comes exam worries. Okay, no, exam worries. It's exam warriors. Exam warriors. While the prodigal son is now in university, getting him there was no small task. Like most mothers, I carried the weight of it alone. Eventually, I admitted I might need help. A friend kindly gave me Modiji's book, Exam Warriors. Okay, does he have a book? I don't know. A friend kindly gave me Modiji's book, Exam Warrior. Okay, I don't know. Just wait. Okay, let me see. Exam Warrior. Huh? I didn't know that. Exam Warriors. Okay. Exam Warriors is a book by Prime Minister of India. This one published in 2018. Exam Warriors is written for young students to help them deal with the stress of exam. Okay. Eventually, I admitted I might need help. A kindly gave me Modiji's book, Exam Warriors. I read it late one night, then tried to follow it the next morning. The day did not go quite as planned. 6:30 a.m. Cleo is barking in the balcony, and I jumped out of bed and hurdle at PT Yusha speed to muzzle my dog so she doesn't disturb the prodigal son. He is preparing for his IGSC mock exams, and according to Modiji's book, it is very important to be well rested before it test. In fact, there's an entire chapter called "Sleep is Your Greatest Weapon. Embrace it." Black coffee, both literally and the Ellie physical music version, is running through my system because sleep, greatest weapon, self-destructed 3.5 hours ago. I am the informed driver has not come. Didi, spotting the man of the house exercising in the garden, I holler, need to drop off the kid, so come inside right now. Pretending to be deaf, he immediately begins doing cartwheels in the opposite direction. So 5 minutes later, I find myself performing my own acrobatics behind the steering wheel. My eyelids. Okay, just what is the difference between acrobatics and the Pilates? Okay, ACRO acrobatic. That's why acrobatic.
Acrobatic.
Acrobat.
Acrobatic.
Backhack. A performing or involving difficult movement of the body. Okay.
Acrobatic.
Yeah, it's take, right? It's acrobatic.
Acrobatic.
Acrobatic, that's okay. Acrobatic. Acrobatic.
Acrobatic.
Patak. Indian pronunciation, it's patak. So eventually I admitted, okay, all this is okay, this one's okay, entire thing is done, running through my system, okay, and opposite directions. I find myself performing my own acrobatic, behind the steering wheels. My lids feel like the rusty shutter stuff go down, and I have to push with all my might to keep them open. Article 3 of the Geneva Convention states that all the prisoners must be treated humanly and not tortured with technique like induced, psychosis and sleep deprivations. but motherhood is biological, okay, and prison must be treated humanly, okay, but motherhood is a biologically induced psychosis where detainees volunteers to get tortured for 9 months while the parasitic organisms akin to a tape worm grows inside their body, and then feeling such extreme pain that it would be slightly easier to lie down in the middle of a highway and have a truck run over us. We expel creatures who often look uncannily like our mother-in-law. Add a few years of extreme sleep deprivations and you have born tired women to convincing themselves in the same manner as victims of the Stockholm syndromes that they need a deep feeling of affection towards their 2 foot tall captors. The prodigal son snorts, "Mom, what are you babbling about? Crap, did I just say all that out loud?" I grounds. "Mama called you a tapeworm." Miss Smarty Pants declares, and her brother retorts, "You're 2 feet tall, so she's talking about you." Just as they get ready to scratch each other's eyes out, we luckily reach the school gates. At the store and about to grab a lunch, I check my phone and discover the school mom's WhatsApp group is filled with a frenzied message. You need to get a tuition teacher who will check that they are properly revising all the subjects they don't have a tuition teacher for, and then must solve all the past IAG, professors from 2002 onwards as revisions. Another mom says the only place they have a few sets of the paper left is Jatin bookstore in Jokeshwari. Then the chat goes completely silent. All the mothers are probably making a beeline for Jadid Bhaiya. I remember that exam warrior also states revise and becomes wise. That's why I reluctantly push my lunch away and jump into the car. After an hour and a half, I triumphantly returns with a towering set C, 14 missed calls, and realized that in all my frenzy of fetching the paper from Jogeshwar, I had forgotten to fetch my daughter from school. 4:30 p.m. My mother has agreed to take Miss Smarty Pants to her tennis class. I nervously ring her doorbell. Thanks to this, mother. Thanks for this, mom. One small thing I scraped against your car. It was an accident. Mother sighs, okay, so were you, beta? So were you, beta, and more than 40 years later, I still seem to be paying off for all the damages. Before she can berate my feather, further, I hastily deposit my younger one in her arms and run away downstairs. 6 p.m., I sleepwalk through 2 meetings when my assistant reminds me that she is taking a week off to help her daughter with her board exams. When my assistant, okay, there is no point asking why her husband can't take some leaves and help the child instead. Raising children, keeping them clean, fed, doing school rounds, and spending a minimum of 10 years of our life dressing like a kids as a Harry Potter, Mahatma Gandhi, Dracula, Peppa Pig, and Chota Beam all seems to be a woman's job, regardless of whether she is a stay-at-home or working on a mother's. If his cinema is a reflection of a culture, then do note that we made the iconic Mother India in 1957, and almost 70 years later, Father India has not even been conceived, let alone unleashed on the silver screen. 7:30 p.m. I get home and poke my head into the prodigal son's room. How are the revisions going? Have you solved the problems? I had to push some rather aggressive women out of the way to get them for you. He rolls his eyes. For God's sake, Mom, we have been solving them since last August. And I don't need any hard copies. It's available online at papacambridge.com. I am certainly very offended, not because I missed my school lunch, missed picking up my daughter from a school, and did not manage to miss the left burmers of my mother's car, but because the website for an exam paper is called Papa Cambridge. How dare they? What do fathers have to do with the education? Check my school WhatsApp group, and you will hardly see any bearers of a precious XY chromosomes. The education game is the only place where we women are allowed, rather compelled, since there are no other talkers to have a voice. In a world that largely wants a silent I roar, that's unfair. They should change the bloody name to Mama Cambridge. I'm going to start a change.org petition right now. Mom, but could you now drop me to the maths tuition first? I wonder if those sorts of expeditions, were what Modi ji was referring to in chapter number 22 when he said, "As one journey ends, another begins." I rarely, follow the prodigal sons downstairs and saying the exam, the real exam warriors are not students, but they're valiant mothers. I wish someone would write a book for us instead. Ignoring my rumbling stomach, I get into the driver's seat again. Now 16. Honey, we have shrunk the kids, but our statues are taller. Yeah. Okay, honey, we have shrunk the kids, but our statues are taller. 11:45 a.m. I'm making insecticides by mixing sugar powders with the boric acid when my mom calls. Biran Bhai is arriving from Surat today. Send the drivers to fetch your uncle from the stations. My driver is on leave today and I can't go either. There is a nasty ant infestations at homes that I'm trying to get rid of. She replies, "You should not kill ants. They are very lucky." Yes, Mom. I mutter, "Ants are lucky. It's just people like me covered in the bites who are unlucky." My protest are pushed aside, and as usual, Mom managed to get me to do her bidding. 6 p.m. Once Biran Bhai and his dabba of precious fafdas are safely ensconced in the car, he begins rattling away in great excitement. When are you coming to Gujarat? You have to come to see the Statue of Unity. Not very expensive, only 350 rupees. I replied, I thought it cost 3,000 crores. No. Decree, that is for the full and final statue. This I am telling you is for the ticket for observation deck view. I replied, Biren Bhai, there was an article once in a Daily Mail filled with the British outrage about the UK giving £1.17 billion as aid to India and us spending around a third of that on erecting statues. My uncle gets annoyed. Amta, sawal na pooch. British people are all salo chor hoche. They took billions from us and tucked it nicely in their kisu. Now what they are giving is interest on our capital only. Finally, though, the 4.5 hours on Pastiums to express take their toll, and he nods up. 5 p.m. Pulling out weeds in my garden, I look out at the tranquil Arabian Sea. If things go according to plan, soon enough I'll be able to spot a 212-meter Shivaji statue. Yes, rising from the wave. Yes, I think because in Mumbai they're making a tall Shivaji statue. I recall reading a story about a philosophy professor who filled an empty jar with rocks and then asked his student if the jar was full. When the students nodded, he dropped pebbles inside which rolled in between the rocks. Then he poured sand and filled up the remaining areas of the jar, using it as an analogy for well-being. He said, "This jar represents your life. The rocks are the important things, your family and your health. The pebbles are the other things that matters, like your job, your house. The sand is everything else, all the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, then there is no room for the pebbles or the rock." Yes, I mean that's very true, man. That's very true, man. I think I've seen it in Instagram. So if my memory serves it correctly, okay. Yeah. So there's a jar, and first put the big rocks, and in the between that big rocks they put some small pebbles, and then put the sand. So rocks are the found families and all, and the pebbles are your family, your job, and all those things, and the sand goes to other small things. Okay, I like to read it again. I recall reading a story about a philosophy professor who filled an empty jar with the rocks and then asked his students if the jar was full. When the students nodded, he dropped pebbles inside which he rolled in between the rocks. Then he poured sands and filled up the remaining areas of the jar, using it as an analogy for well-being. He said, "This jar represents your life. The rocks are the important things, your family and your health. The pebbles are the things that matters, like your job, your house. The sand is everything else, all the small stuff. If you put the sands into the jar first, then there is no room for the pebbles of the rock." I wonder if we are as a nation are focusing more on building sand and castle in our jars by passing our pressing issues of poverty and pollution and putting resources into playing statue instead. But I suppose if that is the name of a game, then we may as well spend another few hundred crore to ensure that the world's tallest statues are made a tad more relevant by having the world's biggest anti-pollution mask sitting jauntily on their nose. 8 p.m. Not only do I have ants running around my house looking for edible items, but I also have relatives who are doing the same. My mother arrives with a biran bhai while the man of the house had invited all of his 5 uncles. While mother starts nagging me about how the hot snacks are apparently not hot enough, Biran bhai has been discussing his new business ventures with the mamas. On hearing snatches of their conversation, I'm almost tempted to ask my uncle G if the tallest statue in the world has inspired him to invest in this product he is now peddling called Dr. Ayurveda Height Increaser. Vinay in a mama reels of product details on Baran Bhai's phones. This product increases height in humans. It has no side effect and is approved by the Medical Council of India. He then adds with a laugh, "Are Baran Bhai, this is a foolish business idea. How can this work on adults? At our age, the only direction we can grow is in sideways." Over the years, I've noticed that the politics has affected our family on a deeply personal level. When Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, my in-laws dancing to this tune of Singh is King would bully my meeker Gujarati relatives, but after Modi ji has taken over, the Gujjus are ready with a snappy comebacks. Belligerent Biran Bhai retorts, "What do you know about business? Let me tell you all the great businessmen in India. Ambani, Adani, Kotak, all are Gujarati. You people may have muscles power, but we have a brain power." My Bapuji always used to say, in business, Sindhis sell and Punjabis buy, but in the middle person who makes the profit is none other than a Gujri. In business, Sindhis, I think Sindhi means it's Gujarati people, right? In business, Sindhis sell and Punjabi buy, but the middle person who makes a profit is none other than Gujarati. Unfortunately, since Biran Bhai has not begun consuming the height of his pills, he is still considerably tinier than Vinay Mama. And before Mama G turns in from a spongy Khamans into a deflated thepla, the man of the house quickly leads him away. Look at my mother's and sigh, "I don't feel bad, mom, but really, Biran Bhai is the reason why I think ants are better than uncles." My poor pun doesn't land, so off I go to grab, if not the tallest, the largest drink I can get. Sometimes you do need to pour some scotch on the rocks to fill your jar of, well, being right up to the brim. Online trolls, you third class person, you make jokes about God. Me, God clearly likes a good joke, otherwise she would not have made you. So why do I feel like she's like a proper feminist? Because most of the people would say God means we refer to is him, right? Why would he created you? But she's referring here as she created you. See, God clearly likes a good joke, otherwise she would not have made you. Okay, she might be referring to a girl, I don't know. She might be referring to a mother. So 13, the new commandments with the aid of one Virgin Mary and the two bloody ones. 10 new commandments with the aid of one Virgin Mary. I think I've heard this about in Christianity, right? Virgin Mary. Okay, let's see. Who is Virgin Mary? Mary was the first century Jewish woman of Nazareth, the wife of Joseph and the mother of a Jesus. Okay. So she's the mother of. Okay. She's the mother of a Jesus. Okay. Mary was the first century Jewish woman of Nazareth, the wife of Joseph and the mother of a Jesus. She is an important figure of Christianity, venerated under various titles as a virgin or a queen, many of which are mentioned in the Litany of Lerato. Why is Mary called the Queen of Virgins? But Mary is called Queen of Virgin not only because she is the greatest of all virgins, but she is the exemplar of virginity and the Queen of all who have vowed themselves to the virgin life. For the virgin means, what is virgin? I know only that meaning. A person who has not experienced sexual intercourse. The term also describes someone experienced in a specific field, something untouched. Okay, just wait. Okay. Then, okay, how? Why is Mary called Virgin Mary? According to the New Testament, she conceived Jesus Christ miraculously through the Holy Spirit without sexual relations with her betrothed husband Joseph. This title highlights her purity, the divine paternity of Jesus, and is central to Christian theology. Okay, so that's why it's Mary, Virgin Mary. Okay, makes sense. She is the mother of the Jesus. New 10 commandments with the aid of one Virgin Mary and two bloody ones. New Year resolutions and mobile phones have one thing in common. They both run out of battery very rapidly. But more than half the population is still convinced that they can change their life from the first day of the January. This, in fact, is a unlucky day to begin anything. If you don't believe me, ask Pope Francis Ghost. Despite not drinking himself into oblivion on New Year's Eve, the late Pope Francis once had to start the year with an apology to the world for slapping away the hands of a woman who had grabbed his arms. Lesser mortals stuck to the resolution they made and broke every year, such as losing weight, exercising more, quitting smoking, and spending more time with the family, realizing the urgent need for alternative solutions. Okay, I first tried reaching out to Dalai Lama for advice after calling Dharamsala and being put on hold for so long that I wondered if they were waiting for His Holiness to be reincarnated before transferring the line. I decided to give it a go myself with the aid of one Virgin Mary that soon led to two bloody ones. Here is a list of some much needed and fairly achievable such resolutions. Okay, it seems to me that she did try to contact Dalai Lama's office. Okay, but it seems that I first tried reaching out to Dalai Lama for advice after calling this one and put on hold for so long that I wondered if they were waiting for His Holiness to be reincarnated before transferring the line. Set the bar low. Setting the bar as low as possible also makes it easy to reach for a drink when you need it next. To begin by first accepting that you aren't going to lose 20 pounds this year, just the way you did in the last year before that. So plan to make the small changes like losing the 4 pounds you gained during Christmas. When taking it a step further from Jesus who turned water into wine, you did your own mogrifications by turning wine into cellulite. Emulate Baba Twink Dev. One way of impressing people is to simply flourish impressive credentials like adding a doctor before your name. This is not as difficult as it seems. Instead of putting in RDS or obtaining a PhD, you could apply to self-styled institution like the Trinity College based in Spain, and with a check for £295 get a doctorate in 28 days. If even that is too much effort, then do it the Indian way. Simply tack on a honorific like Yogi, Ma, Swami, Baba, Guru, and without having to display any real abilities, people will look at you with reverence. Turn into a bad parent. This may horrify school moms across the country, but the best parent is a bad one. In order to get ready for the real world, all children need a few hard knocks. Now, for some, life does this automatically, but for ones who are bubble wrapped in a privilege, it is up to the parents to provide the real quiet kicks on the regular basis. And yes, fellow moms, it is bad enough that along with the office work, we are also saddled with almost all the housework. Let's not add sixth grade homework to that list. Admit you're a stupid. Contemplations of your own stupidity may be the most intelligent thing you can do. It is only the truly dumb who are convinced of their smartness. The ones who agonize over the fact that they are perhaps secretly idiots are the ones who know that there's so much to know, that they clearly don't know enough. Also, if you can understand that sentence, then you're clearly a moron like me, which in this case is also a prime example of an oxymoron. Stick out like a sore thumb. Stick out like a sore thumb. Don't try to blend in, as someone who obviously played a lot of Tratis once said. If you fit in, you disappear. Resurrection are guaranteed to the stubborn. My old friend Bobby Deol, who was once written off, is now referred to as a Lord Bobby. Okay. My resurrections are granted, okay? Resurrections are granted to the stubbornest. My old friend Bobby Deol, who was once written off, is now referred to as Lord Bobby and has a massive fan base called Bobians. Do you remember that famous line about the God's house where there is a der but not and okay, there is in the God house. Okay, there's a saying in Hindi. Bhagwan ki kabhi der hai lekin andher nahi. Line about God's where there is a there but not andher. At some point we do reap the rewards of sticking it out. So, well, unless it's losing 20 kilos resolution, because God clearly has better things to do than getting you into the size 10 dress. An asana a day. Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, we all need to do some yoga. By also remove to abstain. Also resolve to abstain from such terrible rhymes. Use the right weapon at the right time. You need to use a bullet against a tiger that is charging at you, not against a bee because you don't like its buzzing. Cultivate a bad habit. You're a lot more likely to succeed if you replace one bad habit with another bad one. For example, what if you replace cigarette with the healthier and now legal option in many countries, pot? To stop yourself binge eating, what if you binge played video game instead? Stop talking to your family. This is the most crucial resolution for year ahead. Refrain from communicating with your family so that when the current polarizing political situation blows over, you are still left with once you have gone through your patient explanations of why the left side is better, and not just while posing for a selfie, and in return being inundated and with the memes calling you an intellectual terrorist. It is time to mute all family WhatsApp groups and your mouth as well, else you may suffer the loss of property and proprietary, as one friend discovers when her inebriated husband, who has taken to wearing his political allegiance not just on his sleeves but on his leg, in the form of a bright orange pants, slammed down his glass so hard in the midst of a heated argument that their side table cracked. In case anyone is interested in my resolution for the year, let me inform you that I didn't make any instead of wish list. I tend to rely on weekly to-dos. In the last few years, I've discovered that if I keep ticking off daily tasks, that by the time 365 days have passed, I managed to fulfill the resolution that I didn't even know I have made in the first place. That's true. Hello, Mona Lisa by Jet Spray. Every fall, the monarch butterfly begins a 3,000 miles journey to Mexico. In spring, sandhill cranes converge in Nebraska. During summer, a large population of two-legged creatures clamber into metal tubes, change longitudes and latitudes, and check into hotel rooms that are often decorated in the shades of brown. A soul-sucking palate has only one advantage. It makes ketchup, crushed shapes, chips, sweat, and semen encrusted on carpets and walls, all the turn invisible. We walk into bathrooms without jet spray, stocked only with a toilet paper. We stack empty water bottles by the sink as a substitute for a lota, only to discover at a critical moment that housekeeping has chucked them once again. Armed with our cameras, we participate in this transient migration for the same reason we get married. It is based on the hope that by entering another state of being or crossing boundaries, we will instantly be fulfilled and satisfied. This seems to have no relevance to whether we were fulfilled and satisfied before entering the institutions of the credit card card guaranteed loans. The statistics of a disappointment, marriage, and holidays are roughly the same. Despite this disconcerting fact, there are multiple reasons for depleting saving while jostling in crowded museums, trying to get a glimpse of Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile. As the guard at the Louvre will tell you, even the most beautiful piece of art turns invisible when you see them hanging around every day in the same place. Yeah, that's true, right? As the guard at the Louvre will tell you, even the most beautiful piece of art turns invisible when you see them hanging around every day in the same place. Familiarity Contrary to the popular adage, does not breed contempt, merely indifferences. Take the same painting, put it on another wall, and we will appreciate the details again. Transport partners, children, friends to a different location, reclaim the ability to see the macram pattern of relationship instead of just the wholest. If we are summation of all the things we remember, then traveling seems to create the strongest memories. The unknown and unusual takes us back to our primeval inner self. Primeval selves, sounds of a crunching quick indicating predator or prey, senses or engaged in the present creates a gossamer web of neural impressions binding the memory firmly in the centers. My sharpest memory of eating a lychee is not at my dining table this summer, but on a swing in Jaipur over 3 decades ago. I remember the metal chains of the swing pushing into my back, my finger poking into the top of the brick thread, bumpy, skin till it pattered, revealing the gelatinous sweet flesh inside. The juice smeared across my mouth like I had applied it lip gloss. The old roll on that smelled of orange blossoms and astringent air fresheners. The pale flesh consumed till it revealed a glistening brown seed. I recall turning it around in my hand, thinking it looked exactly like a cockroach puree of an antenna. And I remember Uncle Manju, Auntie's husband, though his first name is lost in the past, barely intruding to market once again because I had gobbled up the entire bushels of lychees he had bought that morning. Sitting on a morning train on my head, thudding against the window, I watched the man cross me. Faded eyes and a florid cheeks, not the pink of a youth, but the one that comes with a broken vein sometimes. I'm curious about the wedding ban on this middle finger, weight or weight loss. He gathers his coffee cup, the torn sugar sachets, creating a small contained pile of garbage, picking up crumbs and dropping them into the cup. Widowed, I decide. A man used to cleaning up after himself asked me to describe what my accountant was wearing last week, and I would be hard pressed for an answer. To observe, we must be still. Paradoxically, it's easier to stay still when we are moving. Planes, trains, automobiles, and rambling walks compel the mind to halt its endless skipping rope with the working. 3 jumps in the future, 2 in the past, getting tangled up and tripping over repeatedly. Routine is commonly described as a fixed time to do fixed things, and easier to enhance productivity and a cage. When we travel devoid of routines, we wander, watch, and wonder. We gaze at the creamy river changing into a crinkled embroidered navy with threads of a glittering sequence. The swollen bug moon hanging low over the water, jeering the sun with its sighs. When did we last look at the moon in our own town? We ask each other, shaking our heads in the disbelief. We return altered and committed to holding on to the change. We must rediscover our own neighborhoods instead of taking the shortest route back. Talk to the cobbler down the streets the way we ask the Maggie Point vendor so many questions. In Missouri, have dinner with our partners across the candlelit table every week, sprawl on a bench and look at the clouds just like we did in the Jarindu Trolleris. We managed for a short period. Inevitably, we slip back into the straight jackets of a structure. Then we wait to book tickets and clamber into metal tubes, looking for the piece of ourselves buried under the longitude and the latitude of our lives. If you keep turning and looking at the past, all you will get is a crick in your neck. If you keep turning and looking at the past, all you will get is a crick in. Sitting on a gold mine. 9 a.m. Sitting on a gold mine. 9 a.m. I'm sitting on my balcony, staring at the sea when my sister-in-law, who is also my sister in arms, decides to drop by before leaving for a gym. She asks me what I am doing, and when I tell her that I'm performing a frantic, though invisible task called thinking, I'm performing a frantic thought, the invisible task called thinking. She snorts. If you want to think so much, then think about this. Is this house in your name? I reply, what a funny question. It's our home, but I guess it's in your brother's name, so technically it's his, but how does it? And she interrupts, triumphantly, but your jewelry is your own, right? Same pinch. That's why when the Prime Minister had announced that the gold scheme a few years ago, I had been so excited. He said that women usually don't own anything. Houses and cars are in the name of their husband or sons, but gold is a women's strength, and the gold scheme is to empower women. After I read that, I wanted to stand up and clap for him. I went straight to his website and I saw notations to connect with PM, download app, and I click on it. With just a tap on my phone, I felt close to him no matter which foreign country he was touring. I felt close to him no matter which foreign country he was touring. He really is worth his weight in gold. And with that, she taught us off to spin class, 11 a.m. Driving to the office, I spot a huge hoarding of Radhe Ma. Our Prime Minister must have seen one of these and thought that if he gets her gold into circulation, then he could easily cut down on gold imports by 1,000 tons or more. So, as I am deciding between broccoli and bindi for dinner while checking a deck that we have to send out, my accountant walks in, ma'am. Some of our big clients are saying that since GST on candles is unlikely to change from 18% in the upcoming reforms, they want us to keep 15% discount. This GST is such a pain, I moan. So, yes, ma'am, that good and simple tax is making business bad and life complicated. I reply, that's because GST doesn't stand for goods and simple tax. It is goods and service tax. You should know this. You are an accountant, for God's sake. Yes, ma'am, I also thought so, but right from the start, only I heard many government people saying good and simple tax, so I got confused. So I say, they're all learning from our beloved Prime Minister, who is the master of all acronyms. He decided that RVS and RSVP doesn't stand for respondents, Sil, Wu, play, but for Rahul, Sonia, Vadra, and Priyanka. Please tell our clients we are not offering any discounts at all. 4:30 p.m. Wanting to get my cousin a bangle for her birthday, I hop over to my jewelry. I find the perfect gift for her and also a few things for me. As a sales manager is getting my goodies packed, I asked her if she had seen any changes in the buying habit of a customer of the government gold scheme. She laughs, madam, no lady is going to exchange her jewelry for bonds and certificates. I'm not going to string the paper around my neck and wear it to a party now. I will proudly wear my Navratna necklace so that Mrs. Chada, my proudly neighbor. Okay, what is Navratna? Navratna. I wear my Navratna necklace. Just wait. Navratna necklace. Anyway, Navratna necklace. And a Navratna necklace. Okay, so I'm not going to string the paper around my neck and wear it into a party now. I'll proudly wear my Navratna necklace so that Mrs. Chadda, my proudy neighbor, will burn with jealousy and say, Lovelin, such a beauty neck piece. How much you got for? The folks who decided that the women will be the drivers of this gold bond scheme forgot that the main reason why most women buy gold is perhaps the same reason they once bought Oninda TV's neighbor envy owner's pride. 8 p.m. The man of the house is chomping on Amritsari samosa while I'm delicately sipping some green tea. As I tell him about my day, the intention to invest in bonds is great, but I wish they would not try to put an amla on a cow dung patty and call it a cherry cake by saying this is a women's empowerment. Last Women's Days, there were so many articles about how this gold bonds facilitates equality to empower women. We have to radically change the attitude of a man. If I joined politics, I would focus only on educating men about the role of a woman in the society. The man of the house clears his throat and says, Mother India, then really, why don't you join politics? I look at him in horror. Have you seen what happens to all the people who join politics? It's terrifying. What? He asked. Haven't you noticed politicians and their weight gains? I say, if I join politics, I might, like most of them, start stuffing my face with the countless samosas only to keep my mouth occupied so that it does not have the time to either scream or laugh out loud when my fellow politicians spout their nonsense. Like Mulayam Singh, who said, should rape cases lead to hanging, boys will be boys, or Kerala education minister who once said that the boys and the girls should not sit together in a class, or another benevolent CM advising aggrieved nurses not to protest in the sun because it will darken their complexions and thus hurt their marital prospect. The man of the house peers at me and says, can I pause your moving speech to just tell you I got a notifications about our credit card, so exactly what all did you buy at the jewelry store? Caught on the packed food, I quickly stuff a piece of samosa in my mouth and chew on the fact that in some instances silence is indeed golden. If enough bricks are thrown at you, you can use them to build a house. How the love charger ran out of battery. Okay, the title is How the Love Charger Ran Out of Battery. I seem to have an obsession with the hairy Cartmans. Okay, I first realized this weakness when I became fixated on the Hirsut Baba Ram Sahim Singh, who called himself MSG, an acronym for Messenger of Gods. When the Baba decided to star in a movie, I began asking people to join MSG club and come with me to catch the first show of the Good Baba's cinematic outing. I urged them to meet me at the PVR Juhu wearing special t-shirt embezzled with the Ram Rahim's face, which could buy online for 375 rupees. Since I'm no godman, con man, or for that matter, any sort of a man at all. I got no applicants till finally 3 of my friends decided to help me save face and join the MSG clubs. To further amuse myself, I also regularly listen to MSG songs with lyrics like "You're the love charger, billions batteries when goes down. You charge you charge up with love so strong." One day I was at the Marriott when I discovered that Baba Gurmeet Singh, Rahim Singh Nishan had taken over the presidential suite as well as a dozens of rooms for the fortnight. I guess he probably needed the extra space, even if it was to just store his mammoth name. My Parsi assistant rather spitefully refused to let me linger in the lobby, waiting for a glimpse of my idol. But after I cursed her with "I hope vultures eat you alive soon," she grudgingly let me take a picture with MSG's lurid green convertible parked right outside. A year later, while I was on my daily walk around the neighborhoods, I saw I saw a convoy of cars and heavy police security. MSG had moved into my neighborhood. I feverishly posted about my new neighbor along with a picture of a guard landed bottles of Chinese seasoning. Soon enough, his top aide got hold of my number and politely asked me to shut the hell up. It's not the first time I've been at the receiving end of a godman's wrath, wrath, right? How you doing?
Wart is primarily
Wrath.
Wart, meaning
Wart. Is it typically pronounced with a long or this one? Just wait, okay. It's wrath.
wrath.
It's a wrath, a very great danger. It's not the first time I've been receiving end of the Golden Man wrath. I had once written a satirical column about a god woman and her friends in a high places called Up My Mother, telling her that it would be safer for me to zip my lip. I had also been made to feel like a gigantic dart boast while observing a few connections between 2 godmen and their crews with not getting the Nobel Prize on X. Within hours of my post, I had been swarmed by their followers with the threats that millions would boycott the Man of the House next film. But the realizations of what a godman's followers are really capable of sunk in only after MSG was convicted of rape. Mayhem spread across parts of Punjab and Haryana as his followers, who call themselves Insan, forgot about the humanities and promised to wipe out India. The violence led to at least 30 deaths and hundreds injured. The minister, who had taken blessing from the same governments, looking at the very followers as a vote bank, could only claim helplessness. There are times when I find myself pondering on pointless issues like how much money these Babas make of all their spiritual empire, or how much time they spend grooming their long hair and equally long beards. First, they probably need to oil, shampoo, and condition both with products that they are selling to the public at large. Then, of course, they are the monthly hair and beard dye jobs, unless their godlike powers also prevent them from graying. Though most are past the 50-year mark, but ultimately this that is their business, both literally and figuratively speaking, and I'm fine with it. What really bothers me is how we cut open our skulls and hand them our minds on a plate like a legendary delicacy, monkey brains. When our current idol falls off his pedestal, we simply call him or her a fraud and go off on a quest to find the next one. It is time that we gullible fools stop turning towards them like a bunch of silly sunflower looking for the suns, forgetting that a halo is just a trick of a light. Anyway, since we have diverse to talking about tasty dishes, let me inform you that though years have passed since the love charges was arrested, my fascination with the topic has not ended, because even now when I go to the Chinese restaurant, I tell the servers I don't want any monosodium glutamates in my Szechuan chicken anymore. You people should lock away your MSG too. Okay. Now, 21. Reaching the tipping point with the Adil and Malala. This is Adil and Malala. Reaching the tipping point with the Adil and Malala. Adele and Malala, that's okay. Nobel laureate Malala Yousafzai and singer Adele have met. Okay, so they're talking about this one. Okay, Malala Yousafzai and Adele met in London in once at Michael Obama's Becoming book launch, where they connected as new friends. Malala, a Pakistan education activist, later publicly supported the British singer by celebrating the release of her 2021 comeback single "Easy on Me" on social media. Meeting. Okay, just wait. Reaching the tipping point with Adele and Malala. It's an anaconda of voice, jaws wide open. She draws you in octave by octave. You surrender. cradled within a network of vocal cords. When you hear Adele, performing "Easy on Me," the phantom hairs on your arm stands as if the follicles have forgotten they have all been lasered off. When Adele made a comeback, the chatter had been more about her 100-pound weight loss than her album about a heartbreak. There was a sense among her followers of being let down, an assumption that by losing weight, she had abandoned all the women who saw themselves visually represented through her. The most brutal conversations were being had by other women about my body. She said in an interview, "It makes you wonder why, with a voice that is so supremely extra large, we are even talking about her dress size." Women, though, live in a dichotomy where conditioning and aspiration comes to a head repeatedly. I may tell you that Adele should not be defined by her weight or her weight loss. Yet for the last 24 years, the weighing scales and I have had a daily conference where the numbers mock me and I get off and eat a cookie in despair. Recently, I finally got rid of some stubborn pounds and I found myself showered with the compliments, including the ubiquitous "you have shrunk," like I was a sweater that got accidentally thrown into the washing machines. This well-intentioned, banal, statements did add a skip in my step, and like the way the dent in my sides could almost be mistaken for a refined waist. There's a part of me that judges this as shallow, and so will a few who read this. There will also be a large section that will wonder, what diet did she go on? Perhaps we should try it too. Well, it was not keto, paleo, low cal, or low fat. I got my weight changing and some life changing tips from an 80 years old. I had an opportunity to interview Wahida Rahman, and she gave me some sagacious advice. Whenever I put on a kilo or so, I start eating omelets for dinner till I lose it. Since then, I have consumed so many omelets that I'm feeling even my ovaries are now confused. If the eggs floating around in my systems are produced by them or an army of chickens. Ageism, sexism, feminism. I didn't know that there's a thing called ageism. Ageism, sexism, feminism, and our own jism are all the weapons frequently used against us. While it's bad enough that we function within the patriarchal framework, it's odd that the women often judge each other the most. In a book on so it's odd that women often judge each other the most. In a book of Uday Kotak, there is a snippet about how Nykaa founder Falguni Nair, who recently became India's richest self-made women billionaire with her successful IPO, wanted to quit her job and join her husband when she was being transferred to London and then in New York. Instead, Uday Kotak asked her to stay on and start office in the cities. Instead of applauding her business acumen, people are arguing about how she was doing a disservice to feminism by wanting to quit her job and follow her husband. Marriages are not a public limited company where you are selling shares and you need to keep investors their money back, but they still seem to be very in everybody's business instead of just yours. If I paid attention to the comment thrown in my way, then either I should get a divorce because my partners and I hold opposing views on multiple issues, or wear a sari and a gaira to tip Sapani on alternate weekends to keep the marriage alive. On a dull afternoons, I decided to pay heed to the latter suggestions and make a video with my own renditions of iconic songs. Unfortunately, I ended up singing this to my plants with a watering can, and not to the man. Everyone seems to serenade with it. This has less to do with not wanting to be objectified and more to do with my brain having an existential breakdowns while doing his hip rolls and singing off key. As I've explained in the video, I'm just the sort of a person who will start worrying about things like, 1. Now I must send the sari to laundry. Can't just hang it back like all the ones I wear to wedding functions. Shit. 2nd. Shit, water going into my ear will mean I can't hear the music, so how will I know when to sing and when to stop? 3. My period is meant to come the day after. I hope it's not planning on catching some early bird special to visit me right now. 4th. How embarrassing if the children see me doing all this from the balcony. 5th, hanging out in wet clothes for so long, it's very unlikely I will get thrush or some other fungal infections. 6th, my back is going to kill me. Better put some iodex on it tonight. And 7th, and of course, the most important part, no one is paying me for this. Now that I've digressed enough to fall off a cliff, let me return to the tricky landscape of picking a life partner. As the world, and especially all noisy boas know, Malala married Asir Malik. But besides blessing, Malala was also showered with the terms like hypocrite and anti-feminist, all because in an earlier interview, she had said, I still don't understand why people have to get married. If you want to have a person in your life, why can't it be just by a partnership? Meanwhile, I'm left wondering if you take a bullet to the head for standing up for other girls, the least you could be allowed to do is to change your mind. In my opinion, Malala just must join Adele in crooning. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to feel the world around me, had no time to choose what I chose to do, so go easy on me. It doesn't matter if you are an icon like this women or the only people following you are the 22 members of your extended family on Instagram. You will be judged. If you are single, you better get married. Then where are the children? Working women, aren't you neglecting the kids? If you don't work, then you are setting a bad examples for the same brats. Do you agree with your husbands? You're such a doormat. And if you disagree, then why are you still with him? Those lines on your foreheads makes you look like a daddy amma. Are you using Botox to wipe off the wrinkles? How fake? And if fake, like Malala, you change your mind, which should be a natural progressions of growing older and hopefully wiser, then you're clearly a fraud. It's almost comical that no matter what you choose to do, there will always be people telling you that your choices are not good enough. Tragically, after hearing it time and again, we begin to believe all those vices too. So how about for a change, we listen to Adele and go easy on each other and especially on ourselves. Okay, I want to see Go Easy on Me, that song. Why do I feel like Let the Fire for Skyfall? I think I know the how do you pronunciation?
Adele.
It's Adele. I was like Adele, right? Her song I know, Skyfall, I know. Go Easy on Me, right? Okay, I want to see the Easy and Adele Easy on Me lyrics. There ain't no gold in this river that I've been washing my hands in forever. I know there is hope in this waters, and there ain't no gold in this river. Yeah. There ain't no gold in this river that I've been washing my hands in forever. I know there is a hope in this waters, but I can't bring myself to swim when I'm drowning in this silence. Baby, let me in. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get a chance to feel the world around me. I had no time to choose what I chose to do. So go easy on me. There ain't no room for change to change. When we both were so deep stuck in our ways, you can't deny how hard I've tried. I changed who I was to put you both first, but now I gave up. Go easy on me, baby. I'm still a child, didn't get a chance to feel the world around me. Okay. Now it's 22, and it is When Love Flies Out of the Train Window. I repeat, it's 22, When the Love Flies Out of the Train Window. When the love flies out of the train window. In the early days, when love is still blind but has yet to turn deaf, when tarnished memories are pulled out and polished brightly by the gleam of interest in one's partner's eyes, when there are layers slowly revealed and some firmly hidden, we, like most new couples, exchange myriad stories. One evening, I told him about a train ride that ended my romance with the railways. In 1989, I decided to get a job as an interior designer assistant. Feeling independent and rather grown-up, I would take the train to Charni Road station every day. During the scramble of a rush hour, I would push my way in while a horde of women simultaneously get off. On one such occasion, as I clambered into the train, the shoulder strap of my purse got entangled around a slender sari clad, disembarking passenger's neck while I was left holding on to the bottom pit for the dear life. The train started moving and she had to turn along sides as the purse strap had now become a noose around her neck. I was in a terrible dilemma. I told him if I held on to my purse, she could get strangled or pulled under the train, and if I let go, I would be on the train with no money, no ID, and no handy mobile phones in the back pocket, as mobile didn't even exist. So what did you do? He asked, and I replied, since I am not in a cell for homicidal maniacs, you can probably guess what I did. I let go and lost both my bags and my love for the train journey. Sitting beside me on a terrace that cloudy nights, he in turn told me his tale, set aside the cadence of the chugging railway engine. Starting from the 7th standard, every morning I would take the harbour line to get to my school, Don Bosco's. He then draw vivid pictures of a rainy August day where he would walk toward the compartment exit, standing behind a woman with incongruously long play, who also disembarked at his stop, King's Circle station. Over time, he explained, you start recognizing faces, the usual suspect crammed in the same compartment on their way to the daily crimes. Another familiar face is a tall man with a well-groomed mustache rushed over and across the compartment, making his way toward them with an umbrella in his hands. He hesitantly addressed the woman. I think you forgot your umbrella. She thanked him profusely. Leaving her umbrella behind would have meant getting drenched in the rain as well as having to purchase another one. Though I usually spend my time reading Phantom's comic on the train, I began noticing that the woman with the long plait and the man who handed her the umbrella had started smiling at each other from the far ends of the compartment. Time went by, and they were soon sitting together, cocooned in a whispered conversations and joyful laughter. A few hours later, she started carrying snacks for them to share before she got off. She got off at her stop. We paused for a long moment, and I recall impatiently asking him, "What then? What happened?" He said, "The best thing, summer holiday begins. That's your story? That's the end?" He shook his head. "No, but perhaps it should have been." The school holidays lasted a glorious 2 months, but then it was time to board the train back to Don Bosco. She saw their pair sitting together in the compartment again. She now had a Mangalsutra around her neck, while he sported a tender smile as she rested her heads on his shoulder. Time marched on. I was in 10th standard now. Bruce Lee was my new hero, and I started learning martial arts. I used to spend the dreary commute daydreaming, my mind filled with the scene from Enter the Dragon and Fist of Fury. The two sons on the train were also engrossed in their respective worlds. The wife, her hair were now wound in a burn, kept herself busy with a ball of a yellow yarn and pair of knitting needles, when her husband seemed content to nap. And then came a day of torrential rainfall, with the familiar lament of flooded roads and delayed commutes. The next stop was King Charles station. The woman moved towards the exit. I was standing right behind her when her husband brusquely called her out. "And this, who is going to pick this up, you knocker?" Her eyes downcast, she silently brushed past me, retraced her steps, and picked up her black umbrella. German philosopher Erich Fromm said that love is an art, just as living is an art. If we want to learn how to love, we must proceed in the same way like we want to learn any other art, say music or a painting. But most of us see love as an acquisition rather than an art, like a new phone that we gaze at reverently as we take it from the box and gently cradle in our hands. To the first time it falls, there is an anguish gasp. We snatch it up from the ground, meticulously examine it for a small cuffs and carefully put it back into our pocket. Soon we begin tossing it around nonchalantly, unperturbed by the fall and crumbles. On a fine day, we look at the scratches and dents and murmur to ourselves, perhaps it's time to get a new one again. Marriage may not be a bed of roses, which is a bit of a relief. Otherwise, you would be constantly pricked as you lay there, rather than just twice a week and when the kids fast asleep. Okay, I want to repeat it. Marriage may not be a bed of roses, which is a bit of a relief. Otherwise, you would be constantly pricked as you lay there, rather than just twice a week and when the kids are fall asleep. I think there is a poem of Bed of Roses. And there's I feel like I've read Roses poem Chasing the Eagles too. Bed of Roses. On a bed of roses you lay, for here you shall stay. Your time has come to it it is the end. For now you cannot mend. Goodbye to the world, goodbye to you. It is time to say adieu. For the time has come to you for leave. It is a blanket of life you weave. For now you say I must sleep. Although I shall not wake, please don't weep. For I am happy and my heart is steady. I am now ready. On a bed of roses you lay, for here you shall stay. I don't know if that is the poem, but I do feel like I've read the poem. Now, 23, and it's gonna be Mother Emeritus. Okay, what is Emeritus? Okay, Emeritus. 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 Okay, Emeritus. Emeritus is an adjective describing a person, typically a professor or officials who has honorably retired from their position but retained their official title as an honor. It implies a retired yet still respected status, often used as professor emeritus or dean emeritus. The term is often sometimes used to denote a veteran or retired status. Example, after 40 years of teaching, Dr. Smith was renamed Professor Emeritus. The emeritus editor of the newspaper still writes a weekly column. She became Professor Emeritus of a linguistic appointment. Okay, Emeritus. Okay, Emeritus. Now 23, it's Mother Emeritus. So mother who is retired but still, okay. Having a child is similar to undergoing lobotomy. before an army of mother attacked me with the soiled diaper. Let me make it clear that this statement is backed by scientific research. Women's brains scanned during and after pregnancy showed significant changes. Researchers believe that this alterations makes a mother prioritize their child's demand over all other tasks. It basically compels her to stop being the Sherlock Holmes of her own story and go straight into playing Mrs. Hudson's, the landlady of a Holmes Baker's Street flat. Not exactly sure, I've not watched this. Technically, these changes should revert once the baby doesn't require immersive care, but the brain is a creature of an habit. This revelation struck me right after a phone call with our health insurance agent in the UK. The wheezy man was explaining why my premiums were increasing this year, and being part Gujarati, this was causing me physical distress. Wondering if I should move to a cheaper plan with the fewer allocated GP visits, I asked him, "Can you tell me how often my two dependent on the plan? Can you tell me how often my two dependent on the plan have used their allotted visits?" In a stilted British accent, he stated that he could give me my daughter's information, but not of my son's. He's not a minor, so he would have to give you access to this information, or we can't compromise his privacy. The Indian mother in me was immediately offended. Does this white man not know that there is no such thing as a privacy in our household? We tell people it's called a joint family to make a sound palatable. Technically, it should be called a conjoined family with one head, dozens chattering mouths, and multiple limbs all stitched up together. I protested, but he is my son, so all his organs that comes under your policy have been created by me. But the agent stuck to his stance. When I messaged the prodigal son for access to his account, I received a curt reply: "Mom, I've made only 4 visits in the entire year, and you know that because you insist on coming with me for all of them. So while I'm happy to answer all your questions, I'm not giving you my password. I'm 21, not 12. I can handle it." He has been pushing back for a while, but this year the boundary seems to have grown from chalk lines on the ground to looming electric fence. Cleaning up his room that afternoon, I came across a box with important things scribbled on the lid in a red marker pen. Inside, he had stored me some childhood treasures. A molar, that the tooth fairy, or rather I must have forgotten to collect, pictures with his friends, a card from his dad, and letters I had written to him on his 13th birthday. The day had started on a disastrous note because his name had been misspelled on the cake. It had "Happy Birthday Arve" written on it instead of a "Happy Birthday Arav." I had tried fobbing him off by saying that the pastry chef was secretly a member of the Shiv Senas, and changed it because he thought Arav sounds better than the Arav, just like the Mumbai sounds better than the Bombay. Just like Mumbai sounds better than the Bombay, but he did not believe me. I had then written him this long letter to make up. Dear son, I don't know why a certain age is specified as a step into your teens, or what even really means, except that you are sprouting hair in odd places and sprouting even odder ideas. But the fact remains that this is your big 13th birthday. So here is a letter from your dear mother that you may lose, as you have lost so many of my notes in the past. I thought you were just careless till I realized that you still have the autographed pictures of superwomen. So I guess you just misplaced those objects that I can help you find again. With every year that goes by, I have to loosen the strings that tie me to you, because you're untying the knots at such a great speed at your end that if I don't let go, then all that rope will just tangle around me and I won't find a way of this particular maze. 13 years you have been as much my teacher as I have been yours. I learned optimism, kindness, and wonders from you as I taught you maths, a few manners, and how to switch the light off when you leave the room. But looking at you growing up and listening to you repeatedly tell me how much you're looking forward to your independence, I've started realizing that when you finally leave my homes, my world, and step into your own, my lights will go off automatically, and my world will be filled with a bleak darkness. Though whenever you return for a visit, I will light numerous diyas and pretend that this is not a permanent power failure. We are just celebrating Diwali. Some of this you will not understand till perhaps you have a child of your own, but keep these letters as safe as that picture of a superwoman, just in case. Years from now, you forgot how much you meant to me, for if you misplace this piece of information, I may not always be there to help you find it again. Love you forever, your mother. I clearly recall the man of the house teasing me when I had shown him the draft on my iPad and saying, "So when you write this out properly on paper, are you going to use a pen, or to match the melodramas, do you want to use my blurt and a chopstick?" The prodigal son, unlike his father, clearly valued my words. I was touched he had saved my letters, and it made me miss the little boy he had once been even more. That evening, the man of the house was glued to some game where a bunch of men chase one ball to prove that they have they have two each sitting beside them, him complaining about the prodigal son. I noted the businessman, including a 70-hour work week, advocating Narayan, and they take on the honorary title chairman emeritus when they retire. Perhaps I should also retire from this motherhood's business and just keep an honorary title, mother emeritus. Emeritus does have a ring, nice ring to it, I said. Emeritus. So it's called emeritus. The man of the house replied, "Why are you moaning about an empty nest when our daughter is still there and you seem to always be busy working anyway? And what does this demeritus mean? Can't you just use normal words instead of being a maha pakao all the time?" It was no point telling him that it didn't matter that I have a company to run, book to finish, column to write, and a younger child here to detankle. Mothering my eldest had been such a big part of my life. Now that he didn't need me, I felt completely useless. Even my hairy diary had mundane entries like a mother is like a pack of cold cuts with an expiry date stamped across it. After that period, you are simply forgotten at the back of the fridge. Tell somebody you rot and have to be discarded. Remember that neural rewiring we discussed at the beginning? Those pathways were clearly having an existential crisis. While there are hundreds of books on how to deal with babies, toddlers, and teenagers, there are very few resources on how to continue being a mother when your child has left his childhood in the rear view mirror. I decided to tap into someone who has had almost 50 years of experience in the business, my mother. Over dinner, eating the parwal that she had insisted on heaping onto my plate, I said, "Mom, my job is to take a bullet for my child. Why do you think I spent all those years practicing by giving you a grandson a Nerf gun and standing within a range? Now, I have no say in anything he does. When I give him advice, he says I'm nagging." "But you do the same thing," she said. "Every time I tell you about your hair or try to fix it, just before we are stepping into the red carpet, you push my hand away and you say you can do it yourself. So why are you complaining now? And weren't you the one who once told me that unsolicited advice is just interference?" Unsolicited, means something which is not advice, right? Okay, which is not asked. Unsolicited meaning not asked for. Unsolicited praise or advice. Unsolicited.
Unsolicited.
How can I use this in a sentence? How does this go to synonym for unsolicited? What is an example of unsolicited? An unsolicited example is sometimes something given, sent, or offered without being requested or asked for, often regarded as unwanted, such as spam emails, telemarketing calls, or unwanted advice. It can also refer to business approaches. Okay, so I want to example. Someone telling you how to fix a problem you did not ask how to solve. Okay, just I want to use it with simple usage and examples. Yeah. How to use, this one an example. He said that most publishers would not consider unsolicited manuscripts. They may honestly admit that their difficulty in receiving unsolicited advice, which is not asked for. Okay. And weren't you the one who told me that unsolicited advice is just interference? Good. That you're getting a taste of your own medicines. Disgruntled by trying to look at the bright side, I had to concede that humble pie does taste better than the parvil and is also calorie free. But this talk with mom gave me a clue on how to approach the problem. I didn't have to put myself in my son's shoe to understand the situation. I just had to make a list of all the ways I feel my mother tries to coddle me and ensure that I stop doing the same to him. Number one being not fidgeting with this hair. And this unsolicited advice interference part is true. We don't go around randomly telling our friends that they need to take vitamin D and then go buy it for them. Instead, they have it in front of us and check their mouths and to make sure that they have swallowed it. But we often do things like this to our children, even when they are closer to middle age than to puberty. Our adult children do not need their adult hovering around them. They need a supportive friend. And if we want to continue being a part of their lives, then we should assume that positions are like the Chinese right, a petition to make offspring visits, a constitution right. Though I have an undeniable compulsion to hold on to my children, it would be wise to remember that they are like the air stored in my lungs, in my custody. Custody for just a moment before the next exhalation. This may not be an entirely correct analogy because unlike breaths, we can't keep popping babies in and out constantly. I suppose we are more like a garden houses. Horse pipe's job is not to mow in the absence of ejected waters, but to guide it in the right trajectory. 24. Father's Day for me will always be in December. Father's Day for me will always be in December. December 29th, it's written, "If my father hoped for a boy as his firstborn, I was never told. All I know is what he said to my mother, that I was the best present she could have ever given to him as I entered the world. Feet first, on his 31st birthday, he always called me Tina Baba. never baby. And though I didn't realize it at that point, my upbringing was different from all other young girls around me. The restrictions drawn around their adolescence did not define mine. The permanent marker, one that would later be passed on to onto their husbands to enforce the circle of captivity, did not exist in my case. He was the one who gave me my first sip of alcohol, scotch on the rocks, in a glass too heavy for my hand. I was permitted to peer into the living room with its shaggy white carpet and its bejeweled people. The light from the chandelier was diffused by the smoke chandelier that enveloped the room like a diaphanous. Well, then the epitome of liberated sophistications. Okay, I want to see. Okay, look at. Okay, what is Akshay Kumar? Okay, Akshay Kumar, and then wife. Okay, Twinkle Khanna is there. Uh, and I like to see his father. Father. It's Rajesh Khanna, but I have a very okay. He looks very different, man. Actor and a former member of Lok Sabha. He died in 2012. Okay, so Rajesh Khanna. Hmm. Okay, spouse Dimple Kadia. Okay, children equals to Twinkle Khanna and Rinki Khanna. I don't know Rinki Khanna. Rajesh Khanna. Okay, Dimple. Okay, so they're the siblings. So Dimple Khan. Okay, Dimple Khanna and her children equals to Noamika. Okay, Noamika Saran. And okay, spouse Samir Saran, businessman. Okay, and he's married 2003. Okay, just wait. And where is Twinkle Khanna and Akshay Kumar? His spouse Twinkle Khanna, and I want to see his sisters. I think he has a sister also, Akla Bhatia. Okay, no, I don't know. So there was an assortment of people that drifted in and out of my house and my life. Nothing was shielded and everything explained one way or the other. I got tip on how to improve my eyesight from a choreographer's mistress, a very middle-aged woman with a burnished wavy hair and long-sleeved blouses. Her failed attempt at suicide covered the floor and covered by a floral handkerchief tied around her wrist. I stole cheese from platters meant for renowned musicians as they hummed their new compositions. A legion of writers, filmmaker, an artist would saunter in and out all the parts of his nighty darbas. He always had time for us, though each time he would come to our bedroom wearing us in a stripped night shirt with the I Love San Francisco embroidered with the front pocket. Good night, sweet dreams, I love you, miss you, he would say. My sister and I would repeat the same. A ritual nightly rituals that never changed. Not the words, not the words or the sequence in which they were said. Summers were spent in Kashmir, and I can't recall what we did in the winters, but I do remember our birthdays. I would sit on the stairs, the December air sometimes cool enough to wear a sweater, and watch the trucks filled with flowers entering the gate. They were, of course, for him, but all of eight. I thought they were for my birthday. The 70s were a time when fathers were bystanders in the pursuit of parenting, and our dad was merely someone who stood up in the wings, passing props, hula hoops, and gleaming crowns to the characters rushing on and off the stage, including the person in the main lead. My father was the same. He didn't help with he didn't help with homework or pack my snack dabba. Though unlike my other parents, he always spoke to me like an equal. When I started dating, we exchanged advice. He told me that he was looking for a partner who would lie down in his lap so that they would read the same book together. I love Dad. This is never going to happen. Your expectations are ridiculous. What if they read slower than you or want to take a break? Just find a decent woman who can tolerate your nonsense, and that should be enough. He was equally sagacious with me. Don't have one boyfriend, he said once to me. Always have four at a time. That way your heart will never be broken. A suggestion that held me in a good seat instead. Though I never told him that he was the only man who had the power to break my heart. A daughter needs her father's presence in her life for many reasons. What she needs most is to know that she has someone to lean on, to depend upon. Besides herself, my father may not have been standing by my sides, holding my hand through every stage of life, but somewhere deep inside, I knew that I could count on him. So when he looked at me, regardless of how angry he was, there was a singular reflection, one that never faltered. His complete belief in me. He may have accused me on multiple occasions of being oversmart, but never once did he make me feel dumb. He was a brilliant man, bright, articulate, but not particularly easy to deal with. We argued over innumerable things. I had inherited, his rosy cheeks, his crinkling eyes, his weak ankles, and his fiery temper. We were both readers, and though I could discuss Shakespeare's with him, was never sure if he was the one King Lear to my Cordelia or the Atticus Finch to my Scout. In the end, it didn't matter, nothing did. A laundry list of complaints on two sides of the same page, washed away by the most brutal of all erasers death. It was only after he was gone that I heard from all his friends how he would show them my poetry. He would tell them that I would be a writer someday. He said I was his favorite, his son. For a man of that generation where genders was not a social construct but an entire identity, a son meant someone incapable, someone worthy of being relied upon, perhaps in his mind. There could not have been a finer compliment. Loss is not a constant ache, nor does it come equipped with a full stop. It lives between pauses and emerges at unexpected moments. Sometimes it's a song on the radio, or when I'm applying coal and I see his eyes under the same arched borers, brows staring out of my reflections. It is lurking within my birthday when I wake up in excitement before my heart sinks. The man who loved words always used them in a precise order. These things could not be tempered with replace or change, just the way he didn't like anyone moving his books, glasses, and packets of Dunhills. So year after year, he said the same thing, sometimes that no one else can ever say again. Happy birthday to you, too, Tina. Father's Day may fall in June, but for me, it will always be in December. So now, 25. What animal can teach us about love, shubh, and shadi? What animal can teach us about love, shubh, and shadi? Shadi means marriage. Marriage, okay. Amid a backdrop of icy grey, acacia trees, four elephants stood in a trance. A female, recognizable by the geometric planes of their heads, and three bull elephants perched on the bouncing seat of a khaki jeep. I had stumbled upon primal mating rituals. The elephants moved slowly, approaches, rejection, swiping right and left with the trunks. The mating was short-lived and clumsy, like a section of Indian men's bull elephant. The mating was short-lived and clumsy, like a section of Indian men. Is she talking about her husband? Bull elephant also seemed to believe that if 2 minutes are good enough for Maggie noodles, then it's good enough for them. So a safari guide who could be mistaken for, Shikaru Sambu informed us that the elephants would mate several times over the next few days and then go in their own way. The resulting calf would be raised by a herd of predominantly female elephants. Yes, this is what happens with elephants: is that the child, right, the baby cow, the cow. I think it's called calf, right? The resulting calf. Okay, the resulting calf, right? Okay, so the calf would be raised by the entire female together, right? So they will keep, the small in the middle, and they will surround the child. This would herd, the resulting calf would be raised by a herd of predominantly female elephants. This was a common phenomenon among the mammals I spotted in Tanzania. Lionesses protecting the cubs, and tiny wildebeest running alongside their moms and aunts. Communities of females raising their youngst, with a female either absent or wandering in and out without doing much of the heavy lifting. Okay. I found it intriguing how we human evolved from these collective structures into units of two and decided that our mating rituals had to be include both monogamy and matrimony. Why? Okay, monogamy. Let's pull up polygamy. Okay, monogamy and matrimony. Why did we confine ourselves in 2 BHK? Hum do hamare do cage. And if marriage is about everlasting love, why does it seem to run out faster than an ever-ready battery? A little digging into history brought up a startling fact. The concept of marriage had initially nothing to do with the love, but was due to the advent of an agriculture. When we were nomads, it didn't matter if the child you were carrying was Sharmaji's from the neighboring cave, or that foolish Desai's who was scared of the rain. Then came farming, and land became an ownable commodity. Men needed to ensure that their biological children would inherit their assets. Enter wedlock and mechanisms to tie down a woman, making the prosperity of her children dependent on her monogamy. Only around the 18th century did love, shove, and all that's entailed after the enter the fray. Well, a marriage does have its chaffing issues. It has some surprising medical advantages. A recent paper published in the Annals of Behavioral Medicine found that the people who never married were twice as likely to die early as those in a solid marriage. It's men, though, who seem to wither away without partners, while women tend to put up their lipstick and get on air with it. There's also enough research that shows raising a family with a reliable partner has definite advantages over being a single parents. But
How do you sleep next to a partner when at least twice a week you are overcome with the urge to strangle them? That's not counting the times that when their snoring is louder than the baboons chattering outside your tent. While philosophers and self-help gurus dissect human nature, I chose to focus on the nature itself. Observing technique animal uses as the survival often hinges on the delicate balance of cooperative hunting strategist and symbiotic relationship. One first equals to hyenas hustle. Hyenas don't battle with the lion for a share of the kill. They approach stealthily and run away with a juicy bit. Instead of constant confrontation, perhaps sometimes you should just resort to trickery when your partner starts singing Punjabi songs at you know uh, earth-shattering disciples. Asking them to stop may become a battle of freedoms, like he is Gandhiji fighting for the sword arch. Instead, distract him with the questions like, "What was the movie we saw that day with that guy? It was on Netflix, remember?" While his mind does multiple cartwheels to enjoy the blissful silence. Born homie of baboons, I watch baboons grooming each other and playing together. These creatures tend to live in a large group where female make lifelong bonds. After entering a relationship, women especially tend to concentrate primarily on their partners. Focus is a dangerous thing if directed only in one direction. It's how magnifying glass sets paper on fire. Perhaps you are better off strengthening a social network like baboons. Basically, you keep your man close, but your girlfriends even closer. Giraffe gaze. Giraffe seems to be eternally scanning the landscape. In relationship as well, it's better to look through a wide angle instead of a zoom lens. Your partner's poor jokes and preference for mummy's rajma can feel like significant grievance in the moment but fade away a week later. Hint from hippos. Hippos communicate through grunts, roars, and sprays of water. A guide tells us that the signals convey their moods and avoid conflicts within their groups. Communication is, in a marriage is often not about what you are saying, but how you are presented. I have a friend who, whether she's asking her husband to empty the bin or share her biryani, always begin by calling him baby. I used to laugh at her in our 20s, but looking at them still going strong 3 decades later, I have to say that effective communication is the true, favicol jour. Cheetah composure. Cheetahs are gifted with a speed, but they wait and go for the kill only when the time is right. Instead of getting into heated discussions over whose turn it was to take your kid shopping for sneakers and white dirty clothes are on the floor, wait till you both have down a glass of wine or whatever beverage helps you with see the world through rose tinted glasses. Then, when your partner's like the grazing impala has his guard down, launch your attack. On our last game drive, we saw another herd with the solitary bull elephants walking far ahead of the females with the calves. The bull elephants had my husband's sympathies. Poor guy is all alone, so I was more focused on how the male could wander off as he pleased, while the females had to take care of the young. That, I suppose, is a marriage in a nutshell. Two people looking at the same scenarios with different interpretations and then bickering over right and wrong. Driving back to camp that evening, the guide pointed out a pair of bird called Tick Tick who are so devoted to each other that when the one dies, the other sometimes kill itself by eating poisonous grass. I told my husband, Acha, if I die first, you better eat poisonous grass too. If I see your second wife walking around with my handbags, I promise I'll come and haunt you both. He shook his head and replied, I want to eat that poisonous grass right now. At least then I won't have to listen to all this nonsense. Then he swatted a mosquito on my arm. On my arm, the human equivalent of a baboon lousing each other. So we continued to engage in a complex choreography of cooperation, affections, and mutual tolerance as our jeep raced against the setting sun. Raki is a big affair at my Raki is a big affair at my in-laws, and we usually have a theme party to make it even more exciting. This year it was meant to be a Chinese party. When I protested about a cultural appropriations, Mamiji was alarmed. No, no, we are not doing any operations, just wearing fancy dress. I explained what the word meant, and she replied, "If that is a problem, then then people should stop ordering Chinese food. Also, it also gives and it is all give and take, beta. This is your culture, my culture things. Anyway, we have given the Chinese more than they had given us. Think about it. We gave them Buddhism, and in return, we got veg Manchurian." 26. It's gonna be time to gin and bear it. Baba Moshai. Time to gin and bear it. Baba Moshai. At the start of my 50th, it's at the start of my 58th year on this watery planet, I grew wary of women my age talking about aging gracefully. Grace counts in ballet. I think it's ballet or a ballet. Right? It's ballet. Ballet dance. Okay, ballet. Ballet, right? Okay, it's a ballet, right? So it's the T silence. A style of dancing that tells a story with the music but not with words. a style of dancing that tells a story with the music but not without words, the performance or work that consists of this type of dancing. At the start of my 50th year on this watery planet, I grew wary of women my age talking about aging gracefully. Grace counts in ballet, and aging is a battle, but thanks to the aging process, I can't quite remember if I read this somewhere or made it up just now. I told my friend who, along with the emptying her bank account while replenishing her dermatologist, was busy equating grace with being frozen in time, starting with her forehead. I felt I had finally reached the midpoint between growing and slowly dying. This could be linked, this could be like likened to balancing on the top of a bell jar. Having clambered up one side, the only thing left to do was slide down the other. Either with a sudden crunch or a slow glide, accompanied by an orchestra, by an orchestra of creaking joints and leaking valves. This epiphany didn't arrive with a bang. Instead, it was ensconced in a bubble of calms. This summer, on the family WhatsApp chats, I boasted, "It is true that you get wiser as you get older. I have stopped getting annoyed and seem to have a lot more patience. Or perhaps it's all yoga. It's finally kicked in because I almost feel like a yogi now." My iridescent bubble popped as soon as I had a routine blood test that stated my testosterone had plummeted to zero. The side effect of this perimenopausal fluctuation was a lack of aggressions along with the lethargy. In other words, I had hormonally, acquired the ability to sit in one place and do nothing. Not that different from a yogi after all. This news hit me harder than finding gray hair in the eyebrows. For a large part of my life, I had been energetically, coasting on such a high level of testosterone that in the 90s when woke was just the opposite of sleep. I used to make jokes like I'm more of a man than most men I meet, and with the balls as well, I was left with two low energies and a few stale jokes. There were other distinct disadvantages to this getting older businesses, like the blue throat birds who migrate from Alaska to Rajasthan in winter. It really starts going all south after a certain age. Hair shifts from your head and appears on your chin. The fat from the cheeks sinks to from squishy jowls. The breast starts reaching out to embrace your knees. Not wanting to face the reality, and thanks to my worsening eyesight, not having to see it in the mirror as well, I tried ignoring the fact that my big birthday was around the corner. When that didn't work, I began preempting it by telling people I was 50. On one occasion, my younger one corrected me, "No, Mama, you're still 49." Taking a sip of my drink, because why grin and bear it when you can use gin and bear it? So I told her this about to turn 50 business is like a railway journey. Even if it's to Ulhasnagar and not the destination you particularly want to reach, you still want to just get there and get off the train. So I was clearly having an existential crisis because I sat with a calculator on one evening and created a rough timeline. If I lived to a decent 85, I had to first minus the 30 years that I had already spent. Then I had to multiply 8 hours of time into 365 into the approximate 35 years left, because that's the time I would spend sleeping, and then minus the sum from my timeline, which left me with the mere 24 years of living ahead. I only felt better when I recalled a famous dialogue recited by someone whose eye crinkled just like mine. Baba Musai, Zindagi Bari Honi Chahiye, Lambi Nahi. So, the literal translation would be your life has to be great, meaningful, not long. Zindagi bari honi chahiye. Okay, your life has to be big, not long. It took a few months, but I began realizing that this sliding down the bell jar, swift or slow, wouldn't be much fun if I kept moaning about it. Perhaps it is tougher for women to age because of the value placed on our appearance. Men, or at least most men, Indian men, start off life looking like a back of a dental bust and continue in that manner, just gathering a few more dents. Their self-esteem and power aren't contained within their tight skin and pouty lips. Leaving this superficial war fortified by marketing campaigns and evolutionary cues, I decided to list other advantages of aging. I started with the fact that I was not freezing in the London winter because my hot flashes seems more efficient than my Marks and Spencer thermal vest. Crossing middle age also meant that I was past the stage where you tend to know a little about everything but not enough about everything, including yourself. It is also a time when you have given up worrying about love or yet to worry about health, and even work has stopped giving you sleepless night. The next chronological stub, though, seemed more daunting. I had started discovering that that aging works like Mr. India's watch. One minute you're visible, and the next you disappear as your eyesight worsens. It's other people who have problems seeing you, and when you start using a hearing aid, they're the one who turn a deaf ear to what you say. Hitting my 60s and 70s, I suppose the greatest benefit will be achieving liberation from societal norms. No one can tell you what to do. So young people don't notice you. People are your age are just trying to find a sitting position that doesn't ache. And the older people who have always told what to do are now all dead. So it may time, it may be time to appreciate that each state of life is different. As a teenager, the notion of a time was looking up at this night sky, vast, infinite or infinite, twinkling with the distant possibilities. Now it was like a boiled sweet stuck inside a cheek, the one you keep poking with your tongue as it shrinks in size, or chewing gum that is losing flavor, or half-eaten lychee that is more seed than a flesh. I'm also starting to realize that all my metaphors are about food, because who knows when it'll end up replacing sex as the primary source of pleasure. Okay, so she's referring to a future. That means still she has a regular, sex life. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm saying it's good. You should. I'm just curious, do they or not? That's why I think they do. I'm also starting to realize that all my metaphors are about food, because who knows when it will end up replacing sex. So end up replacing. So they're talking about the future tense as the primary source of pleasure. More than the actual aging process, I suspect we are scared by the prospect of it. It reminds me of getting ready to swim, hesitating on the dock while anticipating the chill of the river water, till you jump in, startled by the splash water going into the nose. Then, with a few kicks and strokes, you get accustomed to the temperatures. The aging I've slowly come to believe is only a battle if you try to figure the current. A note on the author. I think it's the end. Twinkle Khanna is one of India's best-selling author and most widely read columnist. So I want to see, okay, if you want to become the best-selling author in New York Times, then you have to sell at least 10,000 copies of the book. And what normally happens is that most of the people, especially those with the people with the power and people with the money, they want to, so what they technically want is they have a money, so they want to have influence in the society. So what they do is that, for example, if a leftist or a rightist, any of those people have launched a book, then in order to influence or to change the society to their tune, what they'll do is that they'll buy a lot of books of that thing, and it'll instantly become the New York Best Times, and then they'll distribute in an NGOs and all those things, right? And okay, so let me see. Okay, how many books to be sold in India to consider best-selling author? I think 10,000 should be it. Okay, yeah, it's 10,000. In India, a book is generally considered a bestseller if it sells 10,000 or more copies. While the market is large, selling 10,000 copies is considered a significant milestone, as most books sell far fewer. For debut authors, hitting 5,000, 10,000 copies is often demanded as deemed a successful bestsellers thresholds. 10,000 might come. Okay, so 10,000 if one person, right, a good money, if they buy 5,000 and donate it to NGOs and all those things, then 50% is done. Rest you can. Twinkle Khanna is one of the India's most widely read columns. Her first book, Mrs. Funnybones, was based on a newspaper column. She went on to publish The Legend of Lakshmi Prasad, a collection of feminist short stories. The novel Pajamas Are Forgiving, and most recently Welcome to Paradise, a critically acclaimed collection of her stories. She has a master's degree in fiction writing from Goldsmith University of London. Okay, is it finished? I think it's finished. Just wait. Okay, it seems it's finished. So, to give my review, I think the book is fine. It's witty and it's very easy to read. You can read it in one go. If for example, like people who don't read out loud, they can easily read this in a one go. It'll take hardly 1 hour, 140 minutes, something. And if people like me who likes reading out loud and giving opinion, then it might take like a 2 hours plus 2 hours and 40 minutes, something. Yeah. And if you ask me about the book review, I think the book is good. It's funny, but as far as I'm concerned, I think the first part was better in terms of storytelling, in terms of uniqueness, in terms of the humor also. I think the first one was better. Nonetheless, this is fine. And thank you.